Tonight on the Black Channel, we're going to have an expose here taking a look at how America protects white crime. If you are white and you commit a crime in America, there is a system in place that provides protections for you. Unless, of course, you are in the most egregious circumstances or not connected, and that's the way that happens there. But if you're white, you get protected systemically. And before tonight's program is over, we will have, of course, the latest edition of incontrovertible evidence of that. What I want to do here first, let's go ahead and take a look at the case here. Just happened. Karen Read murder trial. Karen Read murder trial. They found her not guilty here. But what I want you to know is no matter where a person might think or about they fall on the subject of the situation, what I want to go into is taking a look at exactly how that occurred. I want to take a look at exactly how that occurred and how that happened, because the details matter. In Karen Read's case here, I want to go over a few of the details of this. It says that Karen Read was found not guilty of the most serious charges in her high-profile Massachusetts murder retrial Wednesday. And it was a retrial, folks, retrial. I want to go down here a little bit here so he talks about what occurred. Here's a look at the timeline of the events in the investigation and trials. January 29th, 2022, the night John O'Keefe died. Shortly after midnight, Karen Read, John O'Keefe, and a group of friends went to the Waterfall Bar and Grill in Canton on the night of January 28th, 2022. According to prosecutors, Read consumed several alcoholic beverages. Read drove O'Keefe to the home of Boston police officer Brian Albert. That is where police say people from the bar were meeting back up. 1 a.m. Court documents later revealed that in the weeks before and even the hours leading up to the night out, text messages between Read and O'Keefe, as well as voicemails, showed a strained relationship. Investigators said that around 1 a.m. on January 29th, Read allegedly left O'Keefe a voicemail that said, "You are a effing loser, F yourself, and John, I effing hate you." What? Yeah, I would say that this was a rocky relationship. I would certainly say that Karen Read and Mr. O'Keefe were in a rocky relationship. Yeah, I would definitely, if it's gotten this far along, yeah, I would definitely say it's rocky relationship. I sure hope that one of them doesn't turn up dead. Boy, after reading that, I sure do hope that one of them doesn't turn up dead. Wouldn't that be just bad coincidence? Between 4 to 5 a.m. At 4:23 a.m., while heavy snow was falling, O'Keefe's niece called Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert's sister-in-law, and a friend of O'Keefe's. She said Read was distraught because O'Keefe had not come home and was not answering his cell phone. According to court documents, McCabe and she heard Read screaming, quote, "John didn't come home. We had a fight." Around 5 a.m., Read called another woman whose husband was friends with O'Keefe. Prosecutors alleged that Read said while they searched, quote, "What if he's dead? What if a plow hit him? I don't remember anything from last night. We drank so much I don't remember anything." Boy. 5:07 a.m. Read, McCabe, and the third woman went to go look for O'Keefe. Prosecutors said Read mentioned to the women that she had a crack in her tail light and wondered if she could have hit O'Keefe. Oh boy. So Karen Read told them, "Oh, there's a crack in my tail light. I wonder if I hit him." At 5:07 a.m., a surveillance camera at O'Keefe's house shows Read's SUV coming, quote, "extremely close to O'Keefe's SUV in the driveway." Prosecutors say no taillight pieces were found in the driveway. Keep that in mind. Reed's defense argues the vehicle did strike the SUV, breaking the taillight and providing an explanation for damage to the SUV. 6 a.m. Around 6 a.m., Reed sees O'Keefe lying in the snow outside Brian Albert's home. An emergency responder said that while hysterical and inconsolable, Reed repeatedly says, "I hit him, I hit him." The defense argues that one of the first responding officers from Canton Police gave, quote, false and deceptive testimony to the grand jury that would later indict Reed. January 29th, 2022. Prosecutors and defense attorneys agree that at some point the morning O'Keefe was killed, someone Googled how long to die in cold. No, folks, seriously, they're saying that somebody Googled that. The sides disagree on when the search was made. Prosecutors say the search happened at 6:23 a.m. and 6:24 a.m. after O'Keefe's body was found. The defense says a federal forensic expert determined the search was made at 2:27 a.m. before police were alerted that O'Keefe's body had been found. How did John O'Keefe die? January 29, 2022. Police say they found a broken cocktail glass and pieces of taillight at the scene. A forensic toxicologist estimated that Reed's body alcohol content would have been around 0.13 to 0.29 around 12:45 a.m., more than the legal limit. January 31st, 2022. An autopsy is completed on O'Keefe. Prosecutors said the medical examiner ruled the cause of death was blunt impact injuries to the head and hypothermia. They say the medical examiner did not find, quote, any obvious signs of an altercation or a fight. Well, so he died of blunt impact injuries to the head and was left out in the cold to die, but according to the examiner, no obvious signs of an altercation or a fight. Okay. Karen Reed arrested. February 2nd, 2022. Reed appears in Staunton District Court for the first time, pleading not guilty to manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide, and leaving the scene of a motor vehicle collision causing death. June 10th, 2022, a Norfolk County grand jury indicts Reed on charges of second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence of alcohol and leaving the scene of personal injury and death. Reed is arraigned on the new charges in O'Keefe's death. She pleaded not guilty in Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham and was ordered held on $100,000 bail. Reed made bail and was released. Megan Ku Klux Kelly was not there to argue against it. That was me adding that. Karen Reed's defense claims she was framed. Oh boy. So the defense says not only that she was innocent, but any evidence you think to the contrary, oh, she was framed. I must hear more. May 3rd, 2023, defense attorneys Alan Jackson and David Yannetti alleged that O'Keefe was involved in a fight inside Brian Albert's home. They claim O'Keefe was beaten and his body was later dumped outside. Jackson and Yannetti focused on wounds to O'Keefe's arms, which they said showed he was attacked by Albert's dog during the fight. Quote, this is not just fishing, Jackson said during the May 3rd hearing. We've got a fish on the hook. We just need the court to help us reel it in. Norfolk Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally argued that O'Keefe never went in the home and added, quote, there is no evidence that Mr. O'Keefe was beaten and left for dead. May 24th, 2023. During a pretrial hearing, Reed's attorneys laid out what they alleged to be a cover-up by law enforcement. Quote, certainly the Massachusetts State Police is involved. Damn! Oh, man. You know, usually when we show up here, that can be an issue. Usually when we show up here, that can be a problem. That can be a problem. Well, when you have conspiracy theories here, that can be an issue. When that happens, that can be problematic when that occurs. When that occurs there, that can be problematic. Conspiracy theories are usually not welcome. Conspiracy theories are usually not welcome, but oh boy, the Massachusetts State Police got to be involved. But there's more. Certainly the Massachusetts State Police is involved. There are people that were in that house that are involved, Jackson said. Brian Albert is involved. Jennifer McCabe is involved. The rest of the folks that were in that house, there's some level of involvement by every one of them. Every single one of them. We're not going to rest until we get to the bottom of exactly who's behind this cover-up. Not only Karen Reed deserves this, John O'Keefe deserves this, and has deserved this from moment one, and that's why they're not going to rest. Following the dramatic hearing, Reed spoke to reporters for the first time. Quote, "We know who did it. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know," Reed said on the courthouse steps. "I tried to save his life. I tried to save his life at 6 a.m. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life." I was covered in his blood. I'm the only one who's trying to save his life. Boy, I'm not going to say that there's an issue there. I'm just saying, by the way, it's nothing weird or wacky or odd about that. I mean, I don't know why you would think there'd be anything strange going on in there. It's seems to me to make perfect sense when you think about it. Makes perfect sense when you think about it. Why would you not? What's wrong with that? Well, it's covered in his blood. Okay. Makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense to me. Courtroom battles over evidence. October 3rd, 2023, Judge Beverly Canone denied the prosecution request for a gag order in the case. Oh, she put brakes on the prosecutors. We're not going to have a gag order. The Norfolk District Attorney's Office had asked for a gag order, saying witnesses were being harassed. Yannetti countered by saying it was the prosecutors who were, quote, controlling the narrative. So they put brakes on the prosecution. Man. August 25th, 2023, Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey released a video statement slamming what he described as, quote, absolutely baseless harassment of witnesses in the case. Quote, conspiracy theories are not evidence, Morrissey said. The idea that multiple police departments, EMTs, fire personnel, the medical examiner, and the prosecuting agency are joined in or taken in by vast conspiracy should be seen for what it is, completely contrary to the evidence and a desperate attempt to reassign guilt. Man. That says a whole lot to you, and then I come back up to the top to remind you all of something. That Karen Reed was found not guilty of the most serious charges in her high-profile Massachusetts murder trial, retrial Wednesday. In their fourth day of deliberations, jurors acquitted Reed of second-degree murder and manslaughter in the death of her boyfriend, Boston Police Officer John O'Keefe. She was convicted of driving under the influence of alcohol. I want to go back to the top and read that to you again. She was convicted of driving under the influence of alcohol, but all this other stuff they talked about, that doesn't apply. So she was accused of killing a Boston police officer. All this we just read was she was accused of killing a Boston police officer. You heard everything else that was thrown in there. Her attorneys come and say that everybody is against her. They're all lining up against her. It's a conspiracy by the system against her. All the first responders, the whole system has risen up against her. And the prosecutor's like, these are conspiracy theories. The idea that multiple police departments, not just one, multiple police departments, the EMTs, the fire personnel, the medical examiner, and the prosecuting attorney, that all of us are involved in a giant conspiracy against her. Diddy is somewhere in federal court saying, hell yeah. Bill Cosby is sitting somewhere talking about, excuse me, yeah. October 11, 2023. Aidan Kearney, the blogger who operates the site Turtle Boy News, was arrested on charges of witness intimidation related to the Karen Reed case. Kearney had been covering the case for months, often recording himself confronting witnesses. His defense attorney told the judge that Kearney was exercising his First Amendment right. December 26, 2023, a judge revoked Kearney's bail amid new assault and battery charges. Kearney allegedly went to his ex-girlfriend's home, demanded to see her phone, then shoved her during a confrontation. Kearney remained in jail for nearly 2 months, but was later released on personal recognizance. Isn't that nice? Evidence under scrutiny. Take a look at how far in this they're going, folks. February 22nd, 2024, in court filings, prosecutors said they had DNA evidence recovered from a broken taillight that implicates Reed in O'Keefe's death. They said the taillight is the same material from Reed's SUV and that the DNA matched O'Keefe's. They also said broken taillight material was found on O'Keefe's clothing. Did you get that? March 12, 2024, Reed's defense team said that the federal investigation in the case led to an FBI expert concluding that evidence does not support the theory that O'Keefe died after being hit by an SUV. Quote, the damage on the car was inconsistent with having made contact with John O'Keefe's body. In other words, the car didn't hit him, and he wasn't hit by the car, Jackson said. Prosecutors disagreed, accusing Reed's attorney of, quote, defense by obfuscation. March 13th, 2024. In a brief statement, Massachusetts State Police said they have opened an internal investigation into, quote, a potential violation of department policy by Trooper Michael Proctor, who was the lead investigator in the case. Police did not say what prompted the investigation, but said he remains on full duty. Reed's defense attorney said the federal investigation showed Proctor hid personal ties to people involved in the case. In the statement, Proctor's attorney, Michael DiStefano, denied any wrongdoing. Typical. Karen Reed's murder trial takes center stage. Judge Canone denied a defense motion to dismiss the case. Canone said she was denying the motion due to, quote, extensive evidence supporting the indictments. April 12, 2024, during the final pretrial. But by the way, when you read this right here, they could have just saved a whole bunch of tax money. Could have just saved a whole bunch of tax money when you think about it. April 12, 2024, during the final pretrial hearing in the case, Canone heard 30 different motions on which she had to rule, listening to arguments from both sides. And we're going at it left and right. Among them was an argument by Reed's attorneys that they should be able to make a third-party culprit defense during the trial. They say Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Brian Higgins, all of whom were present at the party John O'Keefe was at the night he died, could have killed O'Keefe. Prosecutor Lally called it a fanciful story, but told the judge, quote, there's actually no evidence. Jury selection begins. So you get that? Testimony underway. Opening statements and testimony got underway with the first witnesses called. John O'Keefe's brother Paul and his wife Erin were the first two on the stand. Canton police officer Steve Saraf also began his testimony. Prosecutors showed video from Saraf's dashboard camera as he arrived on the scene. April 30th, a Canton paramedic who treated John O'Keefe the day he died testified that he heard a woman saying, quote, I hit him. I hit him. Reed's defense team argued that the man's testimony has changed over time. So what do you know? A paramedic got on the stand and said, yeah, I heard a woman saying, I hit him. I hit him. So it wasn't just hearsay anymore. Well, you get the idea. We have a direct witness saying, yeah, I was there and heard a woman saying, I hit him. I hit him. May 2nd, four paramedics and firefighters testified about what they heard Reed say the morning O'Keefe's body was found. May 6, 2024, jurors heard the 911 calls from the day O'Keefe's body was found. Police who responded to the scene testified as well on the 5th day of testimony. May 7, 2024, several Canton police officers testified about their handling of the crime scene. Among them was Sergeant Michael Lank, whose Reed's defense team argued had personal connections to the home where John O'Keefe's body was found in 2022. These would be the same folks who would tell you that O.J. Simpson was guilty, by the way, y'all. What? These will be the same people who will tell you that O.J. Simpson was guilty. Under these same circumstances, these will be the same folk telling you that, by the way, you know O.J. did it, right? You know O.J. did it. You believe it was a conspiracy by the Los Angeles Police Department? All those people got together to frame O.J.? Isn't the evidence overwhelming? These will be the same folk telling you O.J. did it. But Karen, literally, Karen didn't. May 10, 2024, there was a pause in the trial as Judge Canone heard arguments about whether Aidan Kearney, who publishes his Turtle Boy for his site TB Daily News, should be allowed in the courtroom. He is facing charges of witness intimidation involving people in the Reed case. The judge ruled that Kearney must leave the courtroom when certain witnesses take the stand. Also that day, retired Boston police officer Brian Albert took the stand. He owned the home where O'Keefe's body was found. Albert testified that O'Keefe and Reed never entered his home the night of the incident. May 14th, a woman who was at Brian Albert's Fairview Road home the night O'Keefe died said she saw a, quote, black blob in the lawn as she was leaving. The defense called it, quote, a made-up story. May 15, 2024, Allie McCabe, a prosecution witness, broke down in tears on the stand, describing harassment in the case. Colin Albert, who the defense claims could have been involved in the fight that killed O'Keefe, was also called as a witness. May 16th, Colin Albert finished his testimony with cross-examination that focused on what defense attorneys claim is a history of violent behavior. May 17th, 2024, Jennifer McCabe, a key witness in the case, took the stand. She was with Reed the morning O'Keefe's body was found. McCabe testified that Reed asked her to Google how long it would take someone to die in the cold. What? Jennifer McCabe says that Reed asked her to Google how long would it take somebody to die in the cold. Defense attorneys argue the search actually happened before O'Keefe's body was found. What? Damn. Okay, you do know that goes to premeditation, right, fellas? That actually doesn't help the case when you think about it, when that's your argument. No. She looked this up before he was dead. Oh, she had it. She figured out how she wanted this to play out. These are the same people who will argue you into the concrete to tell you O.J. did it. He so obviously did it. Can't you see that he obviously did it? Clearly he did. Same folks. Defense attorneys argue the search actually happened before O'Keefe's body was found. Court ended for the day before Reed's attorneys began to cross-examine McCabe. May 21st, 2024, Jennifer McCabe is back on the stand, this time for several hours of contentious cross-examination by Alan Jackson. This day marked the first time Kearney's Turtle Boy site has been directly referenced. Okay, they really love that Turtle Boy site. Jennifer McCabe said defense attorney Alan Jackson had put the information out on social media, but Jackson said he had not. Quote, I'm sorry, Turtle Boy did. the witness responded. Earlier in the day, Jennifer McCabe referred to Kearney as, quote, some named blogger that I think the defense is very familiar with. May 24, 2024, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive expert Brian Higgins was on the stand. Prosecutors presented, quote, flirty text messages he and Reed shared in the weeks leading up to O'Keefe's death. Defense attorneys have said Higgins is one of three men they claim could have been responsible for killing O'Keefe during a fight. Brian Higgins, well now, if Diddy says this, they would say that crazy nigga is reaching. If Diddy said this on the stand, they would say that crazy Negro is reaching. That's what they would be saying. That crazy nigga is reaching. Brian Higgins completed his testimony. Other witnesses were called, including O'Keefe's niece and nephew. They testified about a strained relationship between Reed and O'Keefe. June 3rd, 2024, testimony focused on the broken taillight pieces that were found at the scene of O'Keefe's death. June 5th, 2024, several videos were played, the prosecutors say, showed Reed drinking numerous cocktails in the hours before O'Keefe died. They also focused on what they say was a broken taillight in Reed's SUV. June 6, 2024, defense attorney Alan Jackson told reporters that Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor, who Reed's attorneys have tried to show could have planted evidence to help friends who are witnesses in the case, will take the stand as a witness for the prosecution. There had been uncertainty when and how Proctor would testify, as he is listed on the defense and prosecution's witness lists. Proctor is currently under investigation by Massachusetts State Police for his conduct in the case, though the specific reason is not known, and he has denied wrongdoing. It is not yet known when Proctor will take the stand. The same day as Jackson's comments, Judge Beverly Canone told jurors, quote, I can safely say that you will get this case for your deliberations sometime in the last week of June. June 10th, 2024, Canone heard arguments from both sides without the jury present about the prosecution's motion to exclude testimony from a witness who was expected to testify that scratches on O'Keefe's arm were consistent with injuries from a dog attack. Trooper Proctor also took the stand that day, reading derogatory text messages he sent to friends and colleagues about Reed while investigating the case. June 12, 2024, Proctor completed tense cross-examination and stepped down from the witness stand. During his testimony, Proctor was grilled over a text message he sent about Reed saying, quote, hopefully she kills herself. Damn! June 14, 2024, testimony focused on Reed's SUV traveling. By the way, folks, if that were Officer Kyle Rittenhouse, they would tell you that, oh, well, that's really irrelevant. By the way, if that was Officer Kyle Rittenhouse, they would have told you that that was irrelevant. That doesn't speak to intent. That is nothing hinky going on here. They would tell you that doesn't matter what his sentiments are. If that was Officer Kyle Rittenhouse, they would have told you that doesn't matter. Remember? June 14, 2024, testimony focused on Reed's SUV traveling in reverse the night of O'Keefe's death, as well as the time of when Jennifer McCabe searched on Google how long it would take a person to die in the cold. June 20, 2024, prosecutors played angry voicemails that Reed left for O'Keefe not long after prosecutors say she hit and killed him. That was during the original trial. And you heard and saw how all that went. That was during the original trial, and you heard and saw how that all went, how it came out here in the end. You can see how it came out here in the end. What I'm saying to you here is that, yeah, we all know how this goes ordinarily. You have people outright telling you, oh, well, we heard her say, I hit him. She was Googling, how long does it take to die in the cold? And she had been drinking. And she's telling you that all these agencies are conspiring against her. We got black revolutionaries in prison for how long? And that ain't never flew in a courtroom in the universe. There's not a courtroom in the cosmos that a black revolutionary has been able to make that defense and it flew. It ain't working. No, I don't know what's up with the hand gesture. I don't know if they're Longhorns fans or I don't know what the hand gesture is about, but I'm just showing you the evidence. I'm just showing you the evidence here. I'm going over all this, and by the way, I couldn't help but notice my viewer numbers were low tonight, which means that YouTube is seriously, viciously suppressing the channel tonight. So if you all understand that, give me the bullhorn emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. YouTube is engaged in a vicious campaign of suppressing the channel tonight. Y'all know usually we have many multiples of this, but they're at work doing the work of the bad guys, so we're going to be at work doing the work of the good guys. But give me the bullhorn emoji and hit the likes button for me. Somebody gave the French horn emoji. What? He did not understand the assignment. Some of them are using speakers, not bullhorns. So some folks, thank you for your attempt. They did not understand the assignment, but all right. In any case, going over these things here, and in any case, I want you to recognize and understand what you're dealing with and what you see. Because you see, we can talk about Daniel Penny. We can talk about George Zimmerman. We can talk about Daniel Pantalealo. We can talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. We can talk about anybody you want to. The list goes on and on and on. When I point out to you all that if all you go by are the conviction rates, then of course everything becomes racially skewed, which is the reason why the white supremacists, the Tim Pools, the Bill O'Reillys, the Megyn Kellys, the Matt Walshes, the white supremacists, they sit up here and only give you part of things because they look for whatever it is that will justify their narrative and then cut off whole chunks of the information that you actually need. If all you look at are the conviction rates, then what you are dismissing is the fact that it's a system set up for the purposes of, if you're white, not arresting you in the first place, but if you are arrested, maneuvering you through the system in a manner in which you will not be hit with a conviction. That's the point. That's the point. So when you take a look at homicide charges and homicide convictions, I am showing you yet the latest example of a white person who was facing serious homicide charges. See how the case played out, and they said, okay, yeah, not guilty. Robert Durst. Anybody who saw the HBO documentary, The Jinx, Robert Durst. I mean, that rich bastard was on the damn killing spree. Showed up in a Texas courtroom. Texas, people, not Massachusetts, not California, not some liberal bastion of wackiness. Texas showed up and told them that, well, yeah, the person, it was self-defense. And I chopped their heads off, but yeah, it was self-defense, And the jury said, okay, we can believe that. They said, oh yeah, we can believe that. It was self-defense and you chopped him up after the fact. Yeah, sure. I mean, he was on some straight Pablo Escobar stuff. Yeah, you only killed a few people, and this one you chopped them up into pieces and sliced their head off, but looks like self-defense to me. People, you don't have to be Johnny Cochran to win that case. You have to be Mandrake the Magician to win. You have to be David Dare Me Copperfield hypnotizing the whole courtroom to win that case. Or you just have to be white.
And deal with it.
Or you just have to be white. Yeah, I mean, I killed him and chopped the head off, and this ain't my first damn body. But, it's self-defense, man. I'm just unlucky. This fellow was twitching, and anybody who's seen the documentary, he'd be sitting there twitching and shaking and talking to his damn self. So let me get this straight. The little scrawny bug-eyed, wild-eyed, twitching, jerking, shaking dude talking to himself in the courtroom. Oh, this was self-defense. When he kills people, it's self-defense. They looked at him and said, yeah, of course, self-defense. Yeah. Welcome to America. Welcome to America. Where if you're white, you're lucky if you can get arrested. And if you do get arrested, don't worry. They're going to get to work maneuvering you through that system to get you out. They're going to get to work on that. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. I mean, those hand symbols right there, I'm just saying, by the way, it's starting to look real damn blood sacrifice-ish up in here, ain't it? Damn! Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's the Baphomet hand symbol. I'm not going to say that just yet, but I'm just like, by the way, yeah, so the man is dead, killed dead, and then after we doing this... Folks, if they were black, they would have grabbed her ass and took her back in the courtroom again. Okay, let's go ahead and get this conviction. I'm just saying, they said she didn't do it. I'm just saying it's looking real blood sacrifices right now, ain't it? Am I the only one who's thinking this is looking real blood sacrifices? Oh, this is looking real blood sacrifices. Just so right, and everybody together. What is this? Tom Cruise, The Order? What is this? Let me get this straight. So Floyd Mayweather Jr., the judge yanked him back and said, "We're gonna put you in jail for slapping your attorney on the rear end after the thing." That's contempt of court. This right here, nothing suspicious here. Nothing. If this was a bunch of black people, folks, if this was a bunch of black people who had killed a police officer, they had been accused of killing a police officer, and then after the acquittal, they all get together and throw up that hand symbol, them, the attorneys, everything. What do you think they'd be saying? They'd be investigating this as a cult. They'd be investigating this as a RICO. They'd be investigating this as a mob. Oh, they would be investigating everything. Are you kidding me? The attorneys, every damn thing. What are you talking about, man? They would be investigating every damn thing. Okay. But it goes even further. It goes even further here because you need to be aware of what's happening in America. You need to be aware of what's happening in America here because you have to see and you have to understand that in this system of white supremacy, that you are protected. Now, I've been talking about this forever. It's not fashionable to bring this up because here's the problem. When people are blatantly violating and ignoring something, the way they get everybody to go along is to make it look like it's inevitable. That folks are just doing it in the open and, oh, well, there's nothing you can do. And everybody sees that somebody is violating the law, but nobody's doing anything about it. So then you start getting real quiet. You start getting real quiet. But in reality, it's like, yeah, by the way, ain't this illegal what y'all doing? Talking about the illegal aliens, the Los Angeles Times. Folks, they have been in full jihad mode of the Los Angeles Times. It has become all illegals all the time on their newspaper. That's all they're printing about now is illegals, spare the illegals, save the illegals. Well, now they've gone full scorched earth. At the Los Angeles Times, they've gone full scorched earth now, and they are daring to say, will employers be targeted for hiring undocumented workers? You mean illegal aliens, don't you? No, details. Do you realize what a wicked system you're in when they seize language and tell you that up is down and down is up? They're not undocumented, they're illegal. So we don't say illegal, we say undocumented. That doesn't change it. They are illegal. Men are women, up is down, legal is illegal, legal is illegal, and illegal is legal. Illegal is now legal. We're deep into George Orwell 1984 territory, deep into it. Up is down, down is up, men are women, women are men, legal is illegal, illegal is legal. From the Los Angeles Times here, wait till you get a load of this. Written by Miss Caroline Petrau Cohen. Federal authorities have arrested hundreds of potentially undocumented immigrants, potentially, in Los Angeles this month, targeting day laborers at the Home Depot, factory workers at the downtown apparel company, and cleaners at car washes across the city. But the Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents aren't going after the business owners who may have illegally hired these workers. What? Oh boy, she's saying the quiet part out loud. But ICE isn't targeting the business owners who have illegally hired them. Brothers and sisters, I've been talking about this for decades. This, on the part of a major American news media outlet, this is scorched earth. Right here. To go this far off into it, that's it. The gloves are off. This is scorched earth. Because these are only white men now. Now they are specifically calling for going after white men, although they're not saying white men. But this is going full scorched earth now. They go on to say here, President Trump's crackdown on immigration for illegals has spared small and U.S. employers that rely on thousands of undocumented illegal employees, even though hiring undocumented illegal workers can be a criminal offense. Well, that's interesting. So now she's defending crime. Quote, there are some instances of criminal prosecutions of people for knowingly hiring unauthorized workers, but it's extremely rare, said Alian Arulanatham, co-director of the Center for Immigration Law and Policy at the UCLA School of Law. Ball up the whole thing and throw it away. Quote, there's not an appetite for that kind of enforcement. Not an appetite among whom? Not an appetite for that kind of enforcement among whom? People, you live in a system of white supremacy where there is an unspoken handshake deal. There is a handshake deal between the so-called left and the so-called right, which is why you're a moron and an idiot if you go around using those kind of terms. There are twin wings on the bird of white supremacy. One hand washes the other. Their job is to try to convince you that they're at odds when they're both working for the same goal. There's not that kind of appetite for enforcement of mass incarcerating white people. When it was time to declare the war on drugs, as Lee Atwater's prophecy, it's only going to target black people. As soon as the major drug epidemic shifted from black folk using it to white folk using it, and it was always a majority of white folk using it, but as soon as it was undeniable that now you have this massive epidemic among white people, all of a sudden mass incarceration, even from the people who enacted in the first place, Joe the bigot bastard Biden, now all of a sudden mass incarceration is no longer the answer. And you're wrong if you insist on locking people up for drug use. So for 30 years, that was the only way of approaching drug use, even though you're the ones who dropped the drugs to the black neighborhood to begin with. So mass incarceration was the only option right up until it was time to mass incarcerate white people. Then mass incarceration flew out the window. Hey, just like being a teenage mom of bastard kids. Why, you're a no-good, low-life whore if you do that, right up until Bristol Palin walks out there with her bastard kid. What? All of a sudden, no less than Bill the Bigot O'Reilly was defending it. No less than Bill the Bigot. All of a sudden, that was legit. All of a sudden, that was legit. That tells you a lot right there, doesn't it? So this is the way that always goes. That's the way it always goes when it's time to target you. It's both sides, the so-called liberals and the so-called conservatives. Remember, it was Bill Clinton and the Democrats who passed those crime bills. It was Bill Clinton and the Democrats who passed the crime bills. Those were not Republican creations or concoctions. So when it's time to target you, both the so-called liberal and the so-called conservative, the so-called Democrat and the so-called Republican can both agree that they need to target you. When legislation moves through, all of a sudden, curiously, they both agree on targeting you. Whenever it's time to target white people, anytime that comes up, all of a sudden, we need to treat it as an illness. Drug use is an illness. Pedophilia is an illness. And the media joins in right with them. The media joins in right with them. Isn't that the way that goes? So I've been telling you here forever. I've been telling you forever what that is. So whenever it's time to go after you, oh man, well-oiled machine. Whenever it's time to go after them, they either change the laws or they just stop prosecuting people. They either change the laws or stop prosecuting people for it. And that's the way that goes. They go on to say here that instead, the recent raids have affected rank and file workers, most of whom were detained suddenly and faced deportation. Here's what experts say about whom ICE targets and why. Now it says, who relies on undocumented labor? Laborers without legal authorization to live and work in the U.S., in other words, illegals, make up a significant portion of the workforce, especially in industries such as agriculture and hospitality, said John Reese, co-director of the USC Gould School of Law Immigration Clinic. Say that 3 times fast. At least half of California's 900,000 farm workers are thought to be illegals. The Times reported last year, the state is home to more illegal immigrants than anywhere else in the country, a portion of which don't have documentation, according to the Public Policy Institute of California. Quote, the U.S. has always relied on immigrant labor and has always relied on undocumented immigrant labor. Okay, but that does not mean that it's not illegal nor necessary, by the way. So California's just become this real madhouse of really screwed up, wacky, sick, psycho people. And this is what they do. Last week, President Trump acknowledged on his social media platform, Truth Social, that his immigration policies were harming farmers, hotels, and restaurants shortly after he temporarily paused raids on those businesses in a likely effort to keep company leaders in his corner. By the way, she's making that up when she's saying that there, so but this no wonder people don't read newspapers anymore. Targeting the employers themselves, some of whom Trump relies on for support, would be counterproductive to his agenda, Reese says. Quote, if the administration were to say they're going to come down on every business owner who has hired someone in violation of U.S. law, I think that would politically be a bad decision, she said. Okay, why don't you explain why? That's the end of the paragraph, folks. And so they don't say a word about why that would be. What consequences could employers face? Although it's not regularly enforced, a 1986 federal law made it a crime to knowingly hire someone without authorization to work in the country. What? Damn! People, I told you about Omi and the Hellcat went to prison for violating copyright law. Found himself in prison for violating copyright law. Not folks moving packages and stealing and killing, violating copyright law. Here, hold this prison sentence. And then they tell you it's against federal law. It's against federal law. You're violating federal law. So they've used that to enact asset forfeiture to take whatever assets you might get. So, but when it's a crime that white people routinely commit, Everywhere you go, you're tripping over some white business that's hiring illegals. And yet the same federal government that swings a RICO at rappers, they swing a RICO at rappers at the state and federal level. The same governments that don't enact that are now telling you, oh, well, yeah, it is criminal for these white folk to employ illegals. It's rarely enforced. Oh, so there is a law on the books. Oh, yeah, there is. It's been there. Yeah, but we're white. We're white and we say so. Yeah, we don't enforce that law, but it's on the books. Yeah, but we're white and we say so. You notice you don't have your right-wingers going on a campaign about that? They're talking about Carmelo Anthony. They're looking for black people to target. You don't hear these white men on YouTube and on white supremacist social media talking about the need to go after white business owners. No, they're talking about little old Carmelo Anthony. Isn't that interesting? So they're so concerned about the southern border, but they do not want to discuss who you need to go after to stop it. Left-wingers and so-called right-wingers, and they're both white-wingers on the bird of white supremacy. Now, isn't that interesting? You think they're going against each other, and when it's time to actually enact, when the rubber meets the road, when it's time to take action, all of a sudden, they're both on the same page. We don't talk about the slaves on the plantations. We don't talk about the white men who break the law. Where's Candace Owens to do a week-long special about the white men who violate the law? Where is Ben Shapiro? Where's Mark Dice? Where's Charlie Kirk? Where are all of them to talk about the white men who routinely break the federal law for illegals? They talk about the border, but they do not talk about the need to prosecute the white men, to enforce the laws that are currently on the books. You can send those same federal agents out there to go round up the white men. Don't you know if they've been rounding up these white men for the last 4 months, that would have sent a shock wave across the country? They would have left them illegals alone a long damn time ago. You wouldn't have had to arrest hundreds of them, just a dozen of them get locked up, and that would be the end of that. And yet, that is the one thing that isn't happening. And they're not even talking about it. Listen to me. The folks who are the so-called mouthpieces on the internet are not even talking about it. They're not even discussing this. Why, they'll discuss Israel and Jeffrey Epstein, but none of them will say a word about this. They're not saying a word about all the white men who need to get locked up. They're not saying, they're gleefully walking the streets with impunity. And none of these online mouthpieces or right-wingers or Fox News or anybody else is saying anything about them. Now, ain't that funny? Now, how is it that you can be Newsmax and all the rest of these folk and you ain't saying nothing? You're so concerned about the border and totally dead quiet about the white men violating it. Come on now. Come on now. That doesn't make sense unless, in the words of our immortal ancestor, Brother Neely Fuller, if you do not understand white supremacy, then everything you think you know will only confuse you. If you do not understand white supremacy and how it works, then everything else that you think you know will only confuse you. They shake hands with each other. Liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, those are terms meant for your consumption, not for theirs. You think you understand it if you use those terms. If you use those terms, you don't understand it. That's why you rarely hear us sit up here and talk about that kind of thing. We understand they're both the same. They're both the same. They're both on the same side. One just executes it a little differently than the other, but they're both on the same side. And the fact that you have a 1986 law that has made it a criminal offense, that means that Congress doesn't have to get a law through, which is the lie they're trying to tell you now. They don't have to get a law through. Trump's Justice Department just needs to go and enforce it. But they're not. But they're not. Says that violating the Immigration Reform and Control Act could mean fines and even incarceration, depending on the number of violations. But violators are rarely prosecuted. Oh, we didn't get any of this with the so-called war on drugs, now did we? They say, quote, there's a very long history of immigration enforcement agents not pursuing employers for hiring undocumented people, but very aggressively pursuing the undocumented people themselves. Arulanantham said, most employers get zero consequence, not even a minor criminal conviction. The reason for that, folks, is remember, in a lot of states, you can't get licenses for certain things if you're a convicted felon. So they can't prosecute these people because to convict them would essentially be putting them out of business for good. And that's something that you only reserve for the Negroes. These laws are made to only be enforced if a black person happens to wander into it and decide he gonna try it. If a black person tries to open up a farm and he thinks he's gonna try this, then all of a sudden, the federal government is going to come down and tell you, oh, that's illegal. Put your hands behind your back, nigga. All of a sudden, that law will get enforced. They go on to say here, quote, civil consequences can be more severe than criminal consequences, Arulanantham says, especially if you're being deported after you lived here for a long time and you're going to be separated from your family. Even if the law were actually enforced against these employers, it still wouldn't give them consequences that are as draconian harsh as the consequences that flow to the workers, he said. How can employers tell who's authorized to work in the U.S.? Previous reporting by the Times suggests that many businesses in California turn a blind eye when it comes to signing on undocumented workers. A federal program called E-Verify makes it easy for employers to validate the status of potential hires and ensure they aren't unknowingly employing someone without proper authorization. But the program is widely underused. Don't you mean unused? Especially in California, where only about 16% of employers are enrolled. Folks, they would call this RICO. If black folk were doing this, it would be a RICO charge. It would be a RICO trial. If black folk were doing this, we're only six. Folks, we made banking laws back in the 80s specifically to go grab black folk because they didn't go after white people with it. They made banking laws. Remember Reagan, the Truth in Banking Acts that they've made. Oh, if you put in more than $10,000, this is suspicious activity. And today it's no longer the $10,000 limit. For those of you who didn't know, that $10,000 number went out the door years ago after 9/11. Now it's anything that's deemed to be suspicious, and they can make up whatever they want there to be on that. So understand that's what you're looking at there. That's what you're looking at. So if you had that many black folk who were just ignoring the law and doing what they do, they'd have been cracked down. They'd have called that RICO, and they would have been rounded up everybody. They would have been rounded up and mass incarcerated everybody. They'd be showing up on the evening news every evening. See, understand, white supremacists like Matt Walsh and white supremacists like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and wannabe white supremacists like Candace Owens, they know full damn well that if the law was actually being enforced, you would see white people getting frog marched out every single evening. You wouldn't have enough hours in the day for the evening news to be able to show all the white folk getting arrested. They want to just tell you that what shows up on the evening news is indicative of what the actual crime rate is, and I'm showing you empirical, incontrovertible evidence. Oh no, white folk are just being given a license to commit crimes. only 16% of the employers are actually using E-Verify in California. Oh, then white folk have gotten together and said, yeah, we have a license to commit crime. If it's only 16%, so if the federal government went after the other 84%, that's insane. The other 84%, if they went after the other 84%, don't you realize it would be wall-to-wall perp walks on the evening news, the afternoon news, the nightly news, the morning news? It would just never stop. Your newspaper would be filled with the mugshots. It would just never end. It would be this endless parade of them. And yet these other folks want you to believe that what you see on the nightly news is indicative that black folk are the problem. And here I am showing you evidence. Oh, no. From drugs to hiring illegals to death and manslaughter, they are given a pass. It is in the law in both word and practice. If you're white, we don't prosecute you. Our prosecutorial resources are for niggas because we are continuing this race war. So our prosecutorial resources are reserved for them because the race war is being prosecuted and the race war is on. You will not see Charlie Kirk or any of these other people say a word about what I'm saying right now. Now, how in the hell can that be if they've been watching the southern border as long as they have? James O'Keefe and the rest of them in Project Veritas. Why, how is it that they haven't gone undercover to go investigate any of this? People, one white supremacist hand washes the other. It's not a racket or a setup. This is the system. Brother Neely Fuller taught you that you are in a system of white supremacy. And it is crucial that you understand it's a system. It's not just one person half-cocked and wildcatting off by themselves. It is not half-cocked off by itself. Not at all. Not at all. Understand that. They're not doing that because these people are not saying anything because they don't want to say anything. They don't want to say anything. This is a system where everybody protects each other from the bottom to the top. Goes on to say here that participation in the program is voluntary for everyone except federal contractors and other businesses that receive money from the government, Reese said. The program is largely ignored because many companies are dependent on undocumented laborers and don't want to be forced to reject their services. The program is largely ignored. Don't you mean the law is largely ignored? Don't you mean the law is largely ignored? Don't you mean the law is largely ignored? They go on to say here that employers told the Times last year that requiring the use of E-Verify would devastate their businesses unless other overhauls to immigration policy allowed them to access more workers. So yeah, we don't want to follow the law unless you're going to give us another way to get around the law. Can you imagine black men getting together and saying that? You want to talk about a handout? You want to talk about unearned benefits? You want to talk about just being given handouts? Well, yeah, my business is illegal, but I'm going to keep doing it illegal till the government give me what I want. Because you see, I have a right to run my business. Well, black folk are never told that we have a right to be in business, and that if the law is not advantageous to our business, well, we just keep doing our business anyway. The law don't matter. The law needs to catch up with my business plan. I don't need to stop doing business. The law needs to catch up with my business plan. And if I'm illegal, then the law needs to get itself together. The temerity, the gall, the arrogance, the caucasity. Employers told the Times, why aren't employers facing consequences? Historically, it's been in the country's best economic interest to allow undocumented labor, experts say. There are not enough workers to fill all the jobs a healthy, growing U.S. economy generates, especially in low-wage industries. This is a lie. This is a lie. That is a lie. It's always been a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie. Period. I was reading, there was for those of you who know your Noam Chomsky and other writers there, one of the things they were talking about, a study that was done about you can't get rid of war. You can't get rid of war because it takes up an essential part of the economy, and the number of people who you have in your military, the regular peacetime economy does not have the capacity to absorb them. And here they're saying, in the LA Times, actually, we got overcapacity to absorb them. It is a lie, people. It's a lie. It's always been a lie. It will continue to be a lie. The LA Times is owned by liars, and they are liars also. That is a lie. And notice the tricky language. There are not enough workers to fill all the jobs that a, quote, healthy, growing U.S. economy generates. To fill all the jobs that a, quote, healthy economy generates. Who the hell determines what healthy is? Who made the LA Times the sole arbiter of what healthy is? What do they mean by healthy? Anything that helps the illegal alien employers that they work for, the LA Times. They go on to say here that workers who fear deportation are less likely to organize to demand better conditions or wages. It wouldn't make sense for Trump to arrest the business owners he wants as allies, Reese said, and wouldn't align with his stance on immigration. Quote, it doesn't fit the narrative to penalize employers, Reese said. The narrative surrounding immigration enforcement under the Trump administration is that there are dangerous criminals coming across the border and taking our jobs. Well, you know what? I actually agree with what they're saying. By the way, that's the end of their little bullcrap article, but just that short, but I actually agree with that. Trump is in bed with them. His job is to convince the rank and file white folk that he has a problem with that. Remember the fact that he's in the hotel business, so Trump depends on illegals as much as every damn body else. Trump is okay with illegals as much as every damn body else, so long as it fits into his business plan. So no, he is not here to remove the 10 or 20 million illegals. That's not why he's here. He's here to make a show of it that he empathizes with the white masses that they've devastated here, but the illegals is here to stay. At least where he needs them. So for him and his fat cat friends, yeah, that's what they're here for. They're here for that. They're here for that. America and the white supremacist regime on top of everything else. I could go on for hours about these things. I could go on for hours about how they are allowed to, if you are white, you are protected from crime. You are protected from enforcement of crime. Your crimes are defended. I could talk about this for a while here. The Los Angeles Times, I told you all that they were been leaning on the damn Dodgers now. They've been putting heavy pressure on the Dodgers to support illegal aliens. The Los Angeles Dodgers have caved. They said they're donating $1 million to families of illegals impacted by the surge by the ICE enforcement. So this is what they're doing out there, using this as an opportunity to shake people down. Using it as an opportunity to shake people down. But brothers and sisters from around the world, prepare to be angered. Prepare to be angered. Prepare to be mad. Prepare to be enraged. Prepare for that. I'm just warning you ahead of time because there's another story I want to tell here. We're not going to take a break of any kind. I want to get right into that. I know we're running a little bit long here, but I want to go ahead and get into this also because this shows you in a system of white supremacy, white people are protected for crimes. When it comes to white crime, you are protected. And the stories I've given you so far and the examples I've given you so far, from George Zimmerman to Daniel Penny, all of that is overwhelming enough. But there's more. There's more, including this story here. This is a story out of Mississippi, in the words of Nina Simone, Mississippi. Damn. Marcus Taylor should have been freed years ago. Mississippi courts refused to release him. By Lily Uzit. This is Marcus Taylor, of course. And I want you to understand, this headline is not being hyperbolic, people. This headline is not an exaggeration. It's not hyperbolic. It means exactly what it says. He should have been freed years ago, and the courts are refusing to release him. Let me explain. Marcus Taylor has been incarcerated for 10 years, serving a sentence that should have ended 5 years ago. In 2015, a judge sentenced the husband and father to 15 years in prison for conspiring to sell an opioid combination pain relief medication, a Schedule III controlled substance. Oh, you all know the opioids that they let white folk off for. And yeah, we got to keep saying jail space for you. So let me get this straight. White folk are the only ones doing this stuff here, but if there's a black person out there somewhere, oh, don't worry. We're going to hit you with cocaine numbers. It says he spent 8 years in jail before anyone realized that the maximum sentence for his crime by law was 5 years.
What? Damn! What?
You heard that right. They sentenced him to 15 years in prison. He was in prison for 8 years before anyone realized that, by the way, the maximum penalty for what you did isn't 15 years. The maximum penalty is 5. In May, the Mississippi Court of Appeals recognized that Taylor was serving a sentence 10 years longer than the legal maximum, but refused to order his release despite making note of the mistake, arguing that the issue was raised too late. You read that right. His first attorneys failed him horrifically, or then again, maybe they were doing what they were supposed to do. Neither his attorneys, nor the prosecutor, nor the judge, none of them realized that they were sentencing him to far more than the maximum allowed by law. So in other words, we're white and we say so, and we can make up the law as we go. We are not held to it. We are the law. Yeah, the law says 5 years, but the legal maximum is whatever we say it is. This is not 1960 and Emmett Till, people. This is 2025. And the Court of Appeals, his new attorneys, took it to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals said, yeah, the law says the max is 5 years. Yeah, you've been in for going on a decade. Yeah, you gonna do every day of this time, nigga. Even though the law says that that's 10 years more than the maximum allows, the maximum is what the hell we say it is. You gonna serve every day of this 15 years. Yeah, we acknowledge that you're right. Yeah, the Court of Appeals, it says, yes, we're acknowledging, that 10-year sentence exceeds the legal maximum. Yeah, but we white and we say so. The new maximum is whatever the hell we say it is, nigga. And then I take a look over at Karen Reed and you realize, there's some places that something like this simply could not occur. There's some avenues of this society where that kind of thing simply could not happen. And it's always the same side. And of course, where the egregious things occur, oh, well, there's only one group that happens for. Just one. Talking about some illegal aliens and black folk are next. Black folk, oh, you could be rounded up and your civil rights deprived and your constitutional rights violated. This right here. And you don't see any Democrats kicking in doors, standing outside the courthouse, getting arrested, disrupting press conferences, fighting with the government. But then again, wasn't that in Mississippi where Joe Biden and the Democrats gave Carolyn Bryant a pass?
What?
The mother of white supremacy, responsible for the murder of Emmett Till. And it was Mississippi's Democrats. The Democrats of Mississippi signed off and defended it. The article goes on to say here that Taylor, now 43, was indicted in 2014 on 2 counts of conspiracy to sell controlled substances and 1 count of business burglary for breaking and entering a drugstore to steal them. Now, folks, if you know the economy of Mississippi, it has always been downtrodden. It has always been dejected because that's what happens when white supremacists run an economy. When you allow white supremacists to run an economy, poverty becomes the standard because there's a few at the top and the rest of them are willing to be impoverished if it assures their social status as white. So, of course, economic opportunity is always behind lock and key. It goes on to say here that in February 2015, he took what he thought was an advantageous deal. He pleaded guilty to the first count and the others were dismissed. But the plea petition was riddled with mistakes. It erroneously said the maximum sentence for conspiracy to sell Schedule III controlled substances was 20 years, not 5 years. And no one in the court, including his lawyer, realized his sentence was 10 years longer than the legal maximum. It's only after he challenged his sentence in 2023, demanding eligibility for parole, that the problem surfaced. The Choctaw County Circuit Court denied Taylor's motion for post-conviction relief because he filed it past the 3-year deadline of his conviction. I want to remind you all again tonight in absolutely no uncertain terms. This is a blood debt. It can never be erased. It can never be moved aside. It can never be dismissed. And it will never expire. Not now, not ever. For him and everybody else like that. For him and everyone else. This is inexcusable and unforgivable. This is not from 100 years ago. This is from today. This is from today. This is from the here and now. And you recognize that folks are doing this and you see this and you are on the side of injustice consciously. You are on the side of injustice. That's where you are. There is no way in the world that you are not seeing what we're seeing. There's no way that you're not seeing that. You think we're going to let that go? You think we are going to let that go? You think we're going to leave that behind and let that go? I just want to let you know, by the way, we are never going to leave that alone. We are never going to leave that alone. Ever. Not now. Not ever. That is never going to happen. Ever. They are continuing their race war against us. It goes on to say here, after investigating the issue for over a year, the appellate court ruled on May 6th of this year that Taylor was indeed serving a sentence 10 years longer. 10 years longer than authorized by law, meaning he should have been released in 2020. Yet, in a 5-5 decision, the Court of Appeals decided Taylor should still serve the rest of his wrongful sentence because he didn't file his request in time. The court invoked a 2023 ruling by the Mississippi Supreme Court in Howell versus State of Mississippi, which put an end to the fundamental rights exception, an exemption to the 3-year time limit to file a post-conviction relief claim made to ensure individuals don't stay unconstitutionally incarcerated. The Mississippi Court of Appeals is obligated to follow the Supreme Court precedent, said Matthew Steffi, professor at the Mississippi College School of Law. Quote, this is the expected outcome of Howell, that there are going to be meritorious claims that are shut down for these technical limits, he said. That's why many people, including dissenters on the Court of Appeals, believe it's wrong. Now, let me explain to you exactly what that is that you all just heard, because some of you may not understand exactly what that means in the paragraph that was coming here before, or why such a thing would have occurred. Now, the case that they're referring to, Howell versus State of Mississippi, it says that it put an end to fundamental rights exception. So in other words, if their time limits and whatnot are basically unfair, if the time limits are unfair and you see that, hey, this isn't right, this is unjust, well, what they're saying is that, yeah, well, we're ignoring that you have a fundamental right. You don't have any fundamental rights. They're saying that you don't have any fundamental rights. That if this is what the court rules, well, this is what the court rules. White supremacists are backwards, barbaric savages. They always have been, they always will be. The fundamental threat to humanity is white supremacy. And this is why there is no equal, there is no equivalent. You can't point to any place where you see anything even remotely similar to this. And your political parties have not only not acted on it, they have enabled it. Both of them. It says here that indeed, despite this Supreme Court ruling, half the judges were ready to grant Taylor relief. Quote, all Mississippians have the right to be free from cruel and unusual punishment. Clearly they don't. And to incarcerate Taylor beyond the time authorized by law infringes upon that fundamental right. Folks, what good is having something that says this is the maximum you can be punished for, and then they say, no, it's not. Whatever we say it is. Of what effect is a law that says this is the maximum punishment under law, and then they say, yeah, whatever we say it is, that's the max. And you think that we are ever going to stop our war against this vicious bestial machine? You think we are ever going to end it? No, this is a lifelong, eternal blood debt. And you will never be able to walk it backwards or walk it down. Not now, not ever. It goes on to say here, but if the result is tied in a court of appeals, common practice calls for the court to confirm the original decision, Steffi said. The fact that you had even one judge who was willing to uphold this shows you the problem. On June 2nd, Taylor filed a motion for rehearing asking the Court of Appeals to reconsider his application to Howell, saying his incarceration is a deprivation of his constitutional rights. But the Court of Appeals could still refuse to rehear the case. In case of an unfavorable ruling, Taylor's lawyer, Damon Stevenson, said that they were ready to take the case to the Mississippi Supreme Court. If it agrees to examine Taylor's case, the Supreme Court could clarify how the law should be applied in cases like Taylor's. Quote, I do think one has to reinterpret Mississippi Supreme Court precedent to give Mr. Taylor relief, and that's more a job for the Supreme Court than the Court of Appeals, Steffi said. Many hope Taylor's case and potential release could set a precedent and protect others in the same situation. Have to hope for it. When you're white, you ain't got to hope for it. When you're white, folks don't got to take to the streets. When you're white, you don't have to march and protest. When you're white, you don't have to stand in front of police stations. When you're white, you ain't got to light nothing on fire. When you're white, all you have to do is say that I'm a white woman and I'm unhappy and everything screeches to a halt. When you are white, all you have to do is say you are unhappy and everything screeches to a halt. And everyone comes together to figure out what they can do to appease you and to fix whatever your issue is and address whatever your problem is. You don't have to do any of that. You make a phone call and all of a sudden folks start listening. So don't let some jackass tell you about what was wrong in 2020. When you're white, it doesn't require that. When you're white, your rights are upheld. There's no need to take to the streets. That would be a waste of time and effort because they're already working on yours. They're already fixing your issue for you. They're already fixing it for you. So there's no need or reason for you to go through any alternative measures. They're already on the case. Already there. That's the difference. Nobody has to protest in the streets. You're white, you just make a phone call and people start listening with an attentive ear and addressing your problem. That's the difference. When you're black, all of a sudden, you got to have endless newspaper articles talking about your constitutional rights. A 5-year-old would understand, okay, the maximum that we can put you in jail for is 5 years. Tell me, Billy, if the maximum that I can lock you up for is 5 years, how many years can I lock you up for? And the Billy tells you 5, and you say, wrong. This is literally where we are with the sick psychoses of white supremacy. This is literally where we're at. That if I ask you if the law on the book says that the maximum you can serve is 5 years, what is the maximum you can serve? You're like, damn, nigga, you just told me what it was. 5 years. Nope. You could be in for 15 or 20 years, maybe even life. What? I thought you said the law said the max I can. Yeah, you were wrong. Do you understand that? The max you can get is 5 years. Okay, how many years can I get? 5 years. You're wrong. You're wrong. It says here that the escalation of the case has led the Capitol Post-Conviction Council to step in. On June 4th, it filed an amicus brief, additional information and legal arguments given to the court to assist them in their decision in support of Taylor's motion for rehearing. Although the state office normally assists individuals sentenced to death in Mississippi, it has expertise in helping people file post-conviction petitions like Taylor. Expertise. The man is being wrongfully held. It doesn't take a damn expert. It takes a literate individual. We're talking about, they're acting like they're doing you some special favor. This is how white supremacy works. They're acting like they're doing you some special favor to make it seem like they're being magnanimous. The Attorney General's office, which represents the state of Mississippi in the case, rapidly opposed the council's intervention. What? So the Attorney General is very clearly showing you where he's standing at, demanding that the court reject its brief. The AG's office argued that the Capital Post-Conviction Council's involvement was, quote, neither necessary nor appropriate, and that it had filed the brief too late. To Stevenson, the Attorney General's office's immediate opposition shows a broader pattern of combativeness against defendants at the expense of fairness and justice. Okay, which is what we have always said. You are not in a justice system. You are in an injustice system. You damn right we're going to take to the damn streets, because justice is not something we're going to argue over. That's not negotiable. That reality is whatever you say it is, and you have a right to oppress us. Oh, no, that's never going to be. Understand something. You are dealing with tyrants and white supremacists. And if this were a black judge, a black prosecutor, a black attorney general doing this, the entire legislature would have already risen up, removed them, and incarcerated them. They would have used one of their other laws to incarcerate him. If this were a black attorney general or black judges doing this to white defendants, the legislature and everybody else would have already stepped up and gone into action. This wouldn't even be a news story. They would already be working on it. They'd already be doing it. And you would be seeing an attorney general on his way to prison. Like Mike Nifong. You'd be seeing their man on the way to prison. Like, that's crazy. We never seen that before. Yeah, you niggas got out of line. Thought you gonna do what we do. Says here the defendant's rights are often overlooked, although they are an essential part of a fair judicial process, because severity sells electorally, and ultimately judges are elected public officials, Steffi said. Quote, judges campaign promising to be fair or to be tough and fair or to be tough, all of which sends a signal that they are part of the crime-fighting community, Steffi said. You hear a lot about justice for victims, just very little about justice for the accused. While the Court of Appeals still hasn't decided whether to rehear Taylor's case or not, his children are growing up without him, and his wife, Kimberly Brown Taylor, is raising them alone. Now, you know, for the illegals, they would have started the article with this. For the illegals, they start off telling you about how great they are and wonderful, and you're a bastard if you're not humane toward them. Isn't that amazing? That's how they always start with them. That's how they start with them. When you're white, crime and criminality is protected. You have a license to commit crimes. You have a license to do that. And you have a system that will step in, codify it, and protect you. Not an individual, a system. A system that you can rely on. Now that's injustice you can depend on. So don't you let anybody sit up here and lie to you. See, there's a reason why they don't bring certain people on TV and never could and never will. Yeah, they're not going to give a megaphone to this kind of thing right here. There's a reason why YouTube suppresses the channel. Yeah, they're not going to give a megaphone to this right here. I didn't bring you conspiracy theory. I just brought you facts. I'm comparing apples to apples. And you can see very clearly what side this is slanted on. It is not accidental. You are in a system of white supremacy, and the so-called laws only apply to you. They are only for the purposes of targeting and punishing and harming you. And that's it. And even if you think you're going to jump up and turn it on its ear, understand them folks are waiting there to say, man, it doesn't matter what the books say. But wait a minute, you wrote what's on the books. It doesn't matter what we wrote yesterday. The law is whatever we say it is today. And if you come back in an hour and we say the law has changed again, the law has changed again. The law is whatever in the hell we say it is, whenever in the hell we say it. You think I'm going to fall back on reparations? You think I'm going to fall back on reparations across the board? You think I'm going to fall back on any of the black agenda? You think I'm going to fall back on that at all? And this is the apartheid system that we currently live under today. We are under that system currently today. You don't have a white equivalent to Marcus Taylor, and you don't have a black equivalent to Karen Reed. That's not accidental. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and open up the Zoom link. And I know tonight's program is a little bit sobering, but it's necessary to do. Tonight's program might be a little bit sobering, but it is necessary to do. Necessary to do here. So you will be welcome to go ahead and join us. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support as always. We appreciate that. My man, Mark B, Najee. Got folks in the Super Chat, Black to Deaf, Logic Before Emotion. They've been giving out memberships, the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you very much for that as well. Michelle Hancock and everyone else involved. We appreciate that as well. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls and more. This is the Black Channel.
When you visit MrBeTheTeacher.com, you can get a copy of his award-winning book, Guidelines for the Successful Student. While you're there, grab one of his newest tunes along with fun and educational lyric videos.
Never give up, don't worry, never give up, study. In order to
2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times swap names, he, she, they, and we. Simplify the daddy's advice as the father and guide. Money multiplies and shares on what they buy.
You can also acquire his tutoring services via varsitytutors.com or tutor.com. If you wish to speak to Steve Burgess directly, you can do so through MrBeTheTeacher.com.
The Honey Badger and the Mongoose is a children's story for the family of how a honey badger and mongoose fight an evil alliance of venomous cobra snakes and hyenas that overhauls the balance of the savannah. The Big Five. The honey badger demands reparations. Will the Big Five give the honey badger reparations? Can the evil alliance of cobras and hyenas be stopped? The best new price for the hard and soft cover is at www.thehoneyBadgerandthemongoose.com. You can also find this book at Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And the Zoom link is now available. It's pinned at the top of the chat room. We're discussing a number of different things here. Folks are upset at the LA Times, but now they are going scorched earth and saying, why are we not arresting employers? When will employers be targeted for hiring illegal aliens? And the short answer to that is when white supremacy burns in hell and thaws out. When white supremacy burns in hell and when hell freezes over and thaws out. You are never going to have a situation where government policy, and that is the word for you to keep in mind. You are never going to have a situation where government policy becomes to target white people. Not for financial crimes, the Great Recession, the financial fraud crash of 2008, or any of the ones that came before it, by the way. None of them that came before it, by the way. Oh, no. If you're white, you get a pass. That's just business. That's the way we do things. Unless, of course, you cross the wrong white people. See, Elizabeth Holmes crossed the wrong white folk. Bernie Madoff crossed the wrong white people. Sam Bankman-Fried crossed the wrong white people. You just way over the line, way too egregious, and you crossed the wrong ones. But for everybody else, this is business as usual. No issues here. This is just business as usual. That's all. That's it. So they're kind of just talking crazy, but they understand what it is. They understand what it is. They only play dumb when you show up. They know what it is. Let's go ahead and get Superpower Media up here on Zoom. What's on your mind, brother?
Man, I don't know where to start. I mean, YouTube is definitely messing with you live tonight. Because they didn't even notify me. So yeah, you're exactly right about that. And man, the gang signs. I want to know what is those signs they throwing up? Because if that was us throwing up Crip and blood after a trial, man, they probably shoot us on sight. That don't make sense. That's kind of scary, man. It's like I think that's the new devil sign. It has to be because everybody in that picture is throwing up the same sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's not thumbs up. It's not, peace. It isn't even the OK symbol. It's not even that. I'm like, what is this? So hang loose. I mean, that looks like the old hang loose. Actually, no, it's not, because hang loose is, I think, just the thumb and the pinky finger. So I don't know what they're trying to say here, brother. I don't know. I'm just acknowledging they're trying to say something. I don't know. And I'm trying to remember the last time that this happened after a court case with them and all the lawyers and everybody else. I'm like, okay, somebody trying to say something.
I've never seen nothing like it. I mean, it's definitely demonic. And it might be the new devil sign they came up with something. But
okay,
yeah,
somebody talking about, I see a W. Okay, I remember NWO and the old Wolf Pack, but the old Wolf Pack thing for a W, you didn't use the thumb, so it can't really be a W because they got their thumbs out. So yeah, that doesn't work. Yeah. And there's a better W. We all know, just crossing your two middle fingers. There's a far better W, but then again, when's the last time you saw attorneys make hand signs like this? Is what I'm saying. When's the last time we saw that? Well, brother, no. You're saying it doesn't make sense. I'm saying, if it doesn't make sense, that means it makes sense.
Well, it makes sense to them, but I just don't understand what it is. So I'm gonna have to do some more research and study up on it, because that's kind of weird. But I kind of understand that, with the devilment that's on their that's in their lineage. And another thing, I don't even drive through Mississippi, Jason. I avoid that place like the plague. I mean, after I watched the Mississippi burning back in the day, you'd never catch. I would never drive through that state. I mean, and I live in Texas, and we got some white supremacists in Texas, but I just that name just put fear in my heart. Mississippi. You couldn't pay me to drive through Mississippi, because the devils are definitely still alive. That's a KKK stronghold, and you could tell, man, that the judges are still. They probably carry their white robes in their suitcases.
Brother, so, let me tell y'all about Mississippi. And I'm from Louisiana. We right next door. There's nothing in Mississippi. You really only got two parts of it: I-20 and I-10.
Yeah,
and 59 going down through and stuff, and a bunch of little state highways, and they're all just 2 lanes for the most part. And there's nothing in between. It is literally all rural. There's nothing developed. There's no really major cities or whatever. You got Vicksburg, and all they got is their casinos. You got Jackson. Okay, you got your state capital. Then you got Biloxi down there. And that's it. You got
that's
bad and good, and ain't nothing in between. There's just a whole bunch of nothing. And that's exactly what it's intended to be.
Yeah, them people backwoods. I done drove through a lot of, I'm trying, driving through Louisiana. I come down there for family reunions, but man, but Mississippi, oh hell no, I passed that up like the plague. And I just want Black people to understand that, hey, we still at war. It's never gonna stop. As long as they're in power, we got to keep the fight. FBA, we got to stand together. And all these other groups thought we was going to get out there in the streets and help them. The hell with that. We still got a battle to battle ourselves, and keep up the good fight, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. While other people are trying to tell you we need to be focused on these other folk, and meanwhile the damn courts are sitting up here literally telling us that the law is whatever in the hell they say it is. The law is whatever in the hell they say it is when they say it. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if I can get KG up here on Zoom. KG up here on Zoom. Let me see if I can get KG up here. Let's not keep us waiting all night. All right, we got KG on Zoom. What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Jason? Shit. Man, I've been seeing your show for a while, man. And, so I'm from Louisiana also. You know what I mean? But I live in Texas right now. You know what I mean? And everything you said about the illegals, it's true. You know what I mean? Like, 90% of my job is illegals. You know what I mean? And they're not getting arrested for that. So that's what I gotta say. You know what I mean? I got a case going on out here too also, and they trying to charge me for tampering with evidence out here in Texas. And
just tell them you're
they
white.
holding a gun to my head.
Just tell them you're white. Tell them you're white. Tell them they were drinking. Tell them it's a conspiracy. It worked for Karen Reed. I don't see why it wouldn't work for you. It worked for her. So
yeah, it don't work that way, man. And you know it. Like I said, they arrested me 4 times on the same charge. They hit me with a weed charge and a tampering charge. So like, they dropped the weed charge after 4 years, but that's like, can't think of what you call it.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now,
it's the same thing everywhere. Texas, Mississippi, it's the same thing everywhere. Once you get in the system and whatnot, they'll drag it on for years.
Yeah, so it's 7 years right now, and then they sentenced me to 4 years to the penitentiary in Texas. And then like the judge, he called me out, before I went to the penitentiary, and he was just like, you got wrongfully misrepresented by my lawyer, which was, I had a white lawyer who didn't do nothing for me. He didn't call. He didn't, he didn't want to talk to me. None of that. You know what I mean? Like I said, I just been wanting to get my story out there, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Because like I say, bro, they trying to railroad me in the system, bro. And like I said, I drive trucks and stuff, and you know what I'm saying? I'm on a straight and narrow. I got kids and that and all that. You know what I mean? So, you know what I'm saying? Like I ain't doing no dirt. I ain't got no new crimes. I ain't got nothing. And like I said, bro, like they just like last week, they just told me I had to surrender myself, man. You know what I mean? Because they didn't approve the appeal, and I had an appellate lawyer, which you were speaking on that also, and that's what made me call in today. Normally I just sit back and listen, but you know what I mean? I felt like I had to jump in today and just let that be known. Like everything you're saying is absolutely true. And then, like I said, I didn't kill nobody, and they treat that like a murder. They also gave me $100,000 bond. So that cruel and unusual punishment, which is the Constitution, that don't hold any weight.
The Constitution does not apply to us. Any jackass trying to ring illegal aliens in our faces and talking about what's happening to them. Black folk, you better stand up for them, and you next. Joe Biden talking about black folk need to get behind Latinos. Meanwhile, they'll be the ones in Texas, they'll be the judges and prosecutors going after you. We've been on front line. We've been prosecuted. The Constitution has, talking about if they're ignoring it for illegals. Illegals are not citizens. They've been ignored ours. That's the average every day. That is standard procedure for us, is to ignore our constitutional rights. We don't have any. The Constitution does not apply to us.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, brother, check back with us here. We appreciate that. Thank you for giving us a call. Let me get Roscoe up here on Zoom. Waiting to see Roscoe here on Zoom. Okay, Roscoe, I can give you a couple more seconds here, and then we got to go on. If folks are not sitting by their phones, we got to do something different here. They're calling up on Zoom, and then they're doing something else. Okay, Roscoe, what's on your mind? Okay, y'all. Roscoe is semi-coherent. Roscoe, you got earphones in?
Who, me?
Sir, are you going to speak or not?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Talk.
Okay, my fault. I don't know why they call me Roscoe. Yeah, Jason, I think this is very important what you always said about the black attorneys. This is a shame what's happening to that brother down there in Mississippi. I don't know what to say, because I feel like it doesn't matter what state that our black representatives, our senators, every black representative, state representative, U.S. representative, state senator should be calling down to Mississippi to get this brother released. This is just sad, man. I mean, 2025, and this dude is going to serve 15 to 20 years for a non-violent offense. Man, I don't know what to say.
That's not the offense, brother. I mean, it's from the bottom to the top. You are being sentenced. You are being grabbed because you're black. Now, here's the way I want to approach things in that regard, though, brother. I want folks to understand exactly where we're standing. The issue that we have is white supremacy's got the boot on the neck, and the second that they even ease it up a little bit, next thing you know, folks want to start bull jiving. That's the thing we need to understand, is that this is a common occurrence. This is the rule of law, as it were. This is exactly what happens all the time. Everybody needs to treat it with the equivalent urgency. And that doesn't always happen. Most of the time it doesn't. So on the one hand, I'm letting it has to serve as a reminder that, yeah, this is how bad things really are. Not it's on its way. Not if we don't change, it's going to get there later. This is where we are right now. Today. We're already there. You're already halfway down the lion's mouth today. If we don't have an acknowledgement of that, nothing else matters. And unfortunately, in Mississippi, I got to call it for what it is. A lot of these places here, folk don't want to get galvanized until their name is on the docket. They have a culture and not want to get galvanized and their name is on the docket. Then all of a sudden they want to spring to life and spring to action. It's an emergency today, now, right here, whether you on the docket or not. It's an emergency now. But what do you have to do to convince Mississippi that it's an emergency? I was sitting up here, I yelled myself in the laryngitis because Carolyn Bryant was sitting down there in the nursing home in Mississippi, and the damn Democrat prosecuting attorney down there was playing stupid with Joe Biden's White House to make sure that the woman didn't get prosecuted. Brother, I'm in Louisiana. And I'm saying much more about it than the folks in Mississippi. I got a problem with that. I'm in Louisiana, and through hundreds of miles on vehicles to go up there to New York to Albany about Robert Brooks. Where's New York? Don't get me wrong, I have folk from New York up there, but that's my audience. After Khalif and everybody else, we ain't taking it that seriously? That I have to go running the show up. You got plenty of talking heads out of New York. Where they at? Plenty of talking heads out of New York. Where they at?
They at that hotel kicking it.
So I'm not saying the argument is to do nothing about it and whatnot. What I am saying, though, is the argument here is I'm doing this tonight because this is a wake-up call, not just for everybody. This is a wake-up call for Mississippi. Every time I go down I-20, I go across the I come across the Cheney exit. I come across the James Cheney exit every time I go through there on I-20. Mississippi if Mississippi has not learned the lessons, they're gonna have to relearn them. These folk are literally sitting there in Mississippi and saying, yeah, the maximum is whatever the hell we tell you it is. Brother, we got to jump up and light a fire about it. Mississippi, this is not an issue. This is not an issue. This is not a cause.
And them prisons down there, they already just terrible.
Oh, dilapidated, dangerous, the whole damn 9 yards. I'm like, brother, how much more they need to hear? We got folk in Mississippi, and I'm just saying, hey, look here. The whole point of Dr. King having to come down south and galvanize folk there is for poor folks to understand that this is not an issue of not having money. This is not an issue of not having money. Them Latinos and everybody else out there in the street and this, that, and the other, you got politicians and you'll have old niggas in Mississippi. Because, brother, you and me are sitting here talking tonight. Them old niggas will be at the church tomorrow morning. They'll be at the church tomorrow morning talking about, Rodney Jenkins is a court official over there and this, that, and the other. And they'll sit up here and try to have their girl black power images. Oh, take a look at all these judges here. And meanwhile, this is what's happening. Meanwhile, this is what's occurring. You have no rights there. None. And I need that message to get through so the symbolism and stuff doesn't hold sway anymore, because that's the problem right there that I have. We can show this kind of stuff there, but if they do not take it seriously after we're saying this, and seriously means Jason doesn't have to say anything. Because I don't live in Mississippi.
How'd you even find this article? That's the question.
No, but that's my job.
Jeez.
That's my job. But here's my point right here. That's just Marcus Taylor. I can actually show you others. I'm not going to sit up here and run down a rundown because people get lost. When we just rattle off a bunch of names, they eventually get lost. We've had to remind people about Trayvon Martin, and the whole rundown after that, Eric Garner and Walter Scott and Philando Castile. Do you realize how long eventually it just becomes a list of names and it loses its efficacy. So I could sit here and rattle off at least one or two more for you. But the first one should be enough. I really shouldn't have to do more than that. The first one should be enough. So everything you're saying is correct. I have no problem with that. And I'm like, yeah, I hope they do something about that. I hope they do, because there's 50 states. There's 50 states, and folks will sit up here and show up for the fish fry. They'll show up for the football game. They'll show up at the church. They'll sit up here and big up to the deacon. I'm just saying, hey, to the brothers in Mississippi and everywhere, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, okay, the bull jive and the bull jiving around, and let me puff the weed and let me take some time off, and it ain't serious, man. It's dead ass serious out here. We don't have time to play about nothing. It's dead ass serious. Everywhere. We supposed to be on a militarized foot, and I said that going on 20 years ago, brother. We are supposed to be the most serious, sober, strict-minded men in America. We're damn well the most targeted and oppressed. You would figure the most targeted and oppressed would be also the most rock-ribbed and militant and serious. And what I'm saying is maybe we just haven't had enough get just done dog dirty. Because Marcus Taylor is getting done dog dirty.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
and that was after Trayvon Martin. That was after Trayvon Martin. That was after Trayvon. So after Trayvon, that's going on. How many more they got to just do? I mean, dog ass dirty. Ain't no law protecting you before folks say, you know what, man, this is the damn mission, bruh.
How did his lawyers, public defender, miss this?
I would argue, did they miss it? I would argue, did they miss it, or was that the plan?
His peoples didn't look over the sentencing. No, I mean, where his peoples at? Oh man, no, god damn. And I got look nephews running wild out here. Man.
I'm just saying, for our people, but for black men in particular, because we are the most targeted. I don't have the patience at this point, bro. We've been talking about this for decades now. Everybody's supposed to be on the same damn page, head on swivel. We have no friends. Folks want to sit up here and this saviorism idea that there's going to be somebody who's going to swoop in and come galvanize the folks and put them together. That's the problem right there. that right there. Because I'm like, while you waiting on us to galvanize people, they're already telling you the law doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to you. And see if you can get that through the Mississippi courts. It doesn't apply to you. What is the conversation in Mississippi tomorrow? What's the conversation in the churches tomorrow? What's the conversation on Monday? What's the conversation then? What is it like then? That's what I want folks to understand, because you are living in a system here where white folk have a pass to do whatever. Turn off the damn phone, turn off the damn Twitter, and see what's happening outside here. These folks can come pick you up, and then there ain't no law for you. Now all of a sudden you don't care what's happening on social media.
Oh man. Yeah. And that Boston case, I saw that last year and I was like, man, this white woman's gonna get off. I mean, that's just how they do it up there in Massachusetts. I lived up there, and you know, I don't know what that. I mean, she killed a cop. Man, if a black man or woman killed a cop, no matter if he was drunk, man, they 2-piece and a biscuit on our ass.
No, brother, she didn't kill no police officer. All she did was send him a bunch of text messages saying, I effing hate you. I effing hate you. Took him out to drink. Come home. Google, how long do you have to stay in the cold before you die? There's video of backing up the SUV. She said, I hit him to the paramedics. But you call that evidence? Brother, you call that evidence, brother?
I mean, where are the police officers to stand in the courtroom like they did that brother in Ohio?
Oh, they ain't gonna do that.
That's all I'm saying.
No. This will be lined all up against the walls, ain't they? This will be lined all up against the walls and all down the hallway. Yeah, brother, where they at? Where they at?
We ain't mugging that bitch.
I mean, and then she wasn't very hospitable either. She was kind of rude during the trial and stuff. People said they didn't like her. That's never stopped a white woman from getting off. So they can say that, but it's like, okay, that didn't stop anything. So yeah, she can be as rude as she want to be. The only thing she hadn't said is, yeah, I killed the bastard and now I'm getting away with it. That's the only thing she hadn't said there. Brother, if this was Diddy, he'd already be convicted. He'd already be convicted.
And she ugly as hell too. But that's how they look up there.
Well, like I say, dude, I mean, you make a very good point, but then all they said was a police officer was dead. I'm like, and January 6th, and that police officer stuff don't hold no damn weight till we show up. When we show up, all of a sudden it's back to badge. Blue Lives Matter. This woman ain't had one back to badge post nowhere, nothing. The police, Fraternal Order of Police haven't gone to jihad. The governor hasn't been called out. Nobody's talking about how it hurts police morale. Don't you think if your girlfriend can kill your ass, that would hurt police morale? Shouldn't that hurt morale if you a cop? Now, I'll be damned, my girlfriend can murk me and go into court with this crazy ass. Everybody's out to get me. The police and all the police, not just the local police, every police department and the EMTs and the medical examiner and the prosecutor. They're all out to get you? Yes! And all the evidence, I was framed. And the jury's like, yes, she was framed. Yeah.
Amazing, Jason. Yeah, man, I'm gonna land my plane there. I don't know. I mean, are they back to that Mississippi case? Do we have a timeline that we don't? I mean, how much longer is he gonna be in there? Did you say in that story?
He was given 15 years, so he's looking at another 5 years.
And when he gets out, does he file a lawsuit, or this is just?
No, what they're saying is that he was beyond the statute of limitations. I didn't get to articulate it very clearly before because I don't want it to be I don't want to have too much jargon and for it to get too legalese. But long story short, they're saying the legal basis upon which they're saying that they don't want to make those fundamental rights exceptions is because what they'll say is that, well, guys who get locked up and incarcerated, then they become these jailhouse lawyers and stuff, and that this would open the door to folk just filing endless motions. So, I'm having my fundamental rights violated because of the sentence I was given. So that's the argument that the Supreme Court of Mississippi was making when they did Hollis, is that, is the idea behind it is to stop just, folk from just, filing endless motions, because fundamental rights, and that's one more thing you could file there. So it's really for cutting off folks' ability to file motions. And that was
one do that all the time in the free world.
Well, yeah, but they're cutting that one off there. So that was the whole point of that, is to make it where people couldn't just file endless motions claiming that, my fundamental rights are being violated, that there wasn't anything wrong in the sentencing or whatever, but this is cruel and unusual punishment and my fundamental rights are being violated. So in Mississippi, of course, because barbarians were going barbarian, that's the whole point that they're making there, is that, okay, we're not going to acknowledge that kind of thing there because it opens up, endless motions on that particular basis. And so here he comes making it, hey, my fundamental rights were violated. Well, this is the plea agreement you were given, correct? Well, yeah, and you agreed to it. Well, yeah, but I didn't know, and y'all didn't clarify on anything about this. So this is a classic issue of his fundamental rights being violated, just in time for Mississippi to say you ain't got no fundamental rights, as a way of clearing up their bureaucratic backlog. Oh, you ain't got no fundamental rights all of a sudden. And yeah, you kind of get the sneaking suspicion, if this were a white woman, sitting up here talking about the maximum is 5 years and she'd been given 15, brother, she'd have been out. Them folks, this would never be a newspaper article. This would never be news because she'd already be out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we called our mistake. Oh my God, she's crying on the news. Oh, I just want to thank the judge of Mississippi County and the governor and everybody else, Trump. This is just a sack of shit, man. If this ain't a wake up call on June 10th, and man, young people need to be listening to this program, because if this ain't a motivation to go to law school, I don't know what is, Jason. I don't know what is, man. How we got to motivate to get our black kids into law, man. But that's it. That's all I got, Jason. Great program. I'm gonna continue to listen.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Let this be a wake-up call right here. You can say whatever you want to, man. Say whatever in the hell you want to. The bottom line is that you can say Jewish folk took their prosecution seriously. When they got done, it just became a matter of fact. You got to go to law school. We need as many lawyers and judges. We don't need folk out here on the streets. We need folk in the trenches. That the only way that they could ensure justice for their people is if people who were on code among their people were in the system. And they might be a minority of the U.S. population, but they are certainly, overrepresented in the judicial field. You damn right. You damn right they are. They didn't focus on trying to figure out who can do the best song and dance to be the most entertaining. They're like, man, they killing us and throwing folk in ovens out here. They're killing folk and throwing them in ovens. Talk about a damn song and dance. While they're chopping people up and gassing them and burning them alive in ovens. Those are people who took the threat and take the threat seriously. You on a mission against them? Well, guess what? They on a mission against you. While you sleeping, they sitting together and putting their heads together and collaborating. We're going to put this person here, put that person there. You want to know why AIPAC and the Israeli lobby is where they are today? You know why? Because in the real damn world, when Jewish people got some money, the Adelsons bought off Donald Trump and they've bought their own president. Over in black society, Negroes got some money. Jay-Z is at the damn Super Bowl, and Diddy is buying up every hoe and slut and every extra bottle of baby oil and lotion you can find. That's where his priorities are.
And deal with it, nigga.
if you just really want to get down to it, them folks said, you know what? Yeah, we might have an Epstein Island, but let's keep a few million back to buy off this governor over here and buy off this senator over here and make it illegal for you to criticize Israel. You can't get money or a contract with the state of Texas if you don't recognize Israel. And you got dozens of states that have laws like that, by the way. Dozens of states where you can't get a contract with the state if you don't recognize Israel, but you can get any contract with the state of Texas you want and not recognize black people. What? You cannot recognize the freedmen and the descendants of the slaves and still get your damn contract. You got dozens of states that have laws like that. Why do you think that is? Because the Adelsons got all of that casino money. They got all that gambling money. They got all that blackjack money. And they kept them back $1 billion or so to buy off Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean, they might have spent some of their money on some foolery too, but guess what? They kept $1 billion in reserve to say, let me make sure I got enough money laid back to go buy me a government. Then you want to talk about Bill Ackman. We can go down the list. You can be salty if you want to. They didn't use all their damn money to sit up here and say, let me see how many hoes I can pile onto the freak-off bus on my way to Miami. And even if they did, they obviously kept some money held back to go buy some people off and put their money in the system. That's the damn difference. Yeah, they run a casino and they make billions of dollars, but they didn't spend all the billions of dollars on mansions and houses. Yeah, they got some mansions and houses, but you can see where their money is in government at the state level and the federal level. So they didn't just invest in stacking up hoes and stacking up orgies. And those are just a couple of names among many. Among many. It is a responsibility if you're a Jewish person with some money. You got to contribute to your people's survival. You have to contribute to their empowerment. Steven Spielberg and all the rest of them. Jackie Mason. They all throwing money in the pot. All of them. They get among their people. They all want to know, what the hell you doing? What have you given to the people? We ain't seen you nowhere. You got to hit the block. You got to hit the block, and if you don't, folks are looking at you crazy and want to know where the hell you been. You don't get to sit up here and style and profile and haven't done anything for the people. They want to know where the hell you at. You can't go to cocktail parties and not telling them what you're doing for Israel. They want to know where the hell you at. They are stacking up money and an economy for a reason. And you can take a look at the system and see it's for a reason. Need I remind you, Jeffrey Epstein walked the first time. What? Damn! What? Oh, for all the kids out there who didn't know. Jeffrey Epstein had already been arrested once. Got a sweetheart damn deal. They told them gals, y'all just walk it off. And off he went back to Epstein Island. For everybody who has forgotten, before he finally got put in prison, in typical white fashion, actually he had already been investigated for years, and in his case, amazingly enough, so they had actually already gotten him charged and everything one time, and he walked on that. He walked on that. He walked on that. Whoever your little daughters is that he had his way with, hey, baby girl, you're going to have to walk that off. You're going to have to just walk that off. Old boy is already on a plane back to the island to go mess up the next group of girls. While you sitting up here trying to hang out with some Instagram slut or some rapper who never gonna get a record deal, Jeffrey Epstein is like, yeah, where's Bill Clinton? Where's Donald Trump? Where's Warren Buffett? Where's Bill Gates? You know, the biggest movers and shakers. Let me get, you go take some pictures with some Instagram sluts. I'm gonna take pictures with heads of state. Shout out Prince Andrew. I'm going to take some pictures with some heads of state. Those are the folk I'm going to get to know. And after that, I'll be able to stack up all the chicks I want to. Meanwhile, your favorite rappers are looking at damn me lottery number years in prison. Damn football numbers. They got niggas staring down lottery ticket numbers in prison. Got every car you could name, done slept with every shade of hoe you can name, and getting ready to spend the rest of their damn lives behind bars. Maybe you should have invested a little bit less in the car collection and a little bit more in a couple of judges and prosecutors and a couple of mayors. Maybe you wouldn't have had to slide for King Von if you had bought off some of them politicians and some of them prosecutors.
And deal with it.
Can I say that? Is it too soon? Is it too soon? I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help. Is it too soon? Maybe you wouldn't have to slide on dudes if you could make a phone call and say, hey, where the district attorney at? Go ahead and handle that. Go ahead and handle that. Yeah, folks didn't think about it that way. You got Letitia James, who obviously is in the pocket of whoever in the hell got the most money. Okay, you should have somebody in your damn pocket. You should have something in your damn pocket. You should have something in your pocket. That's where your money needs to be at. You're not investing in your future. You're not investing in your future. These other folk invested in theirs. You can be mad, angry, whatever the hell you want to. You get them together in a damn group, they are on code, man. They are on code, lockstep, and in sync. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom right quick. Let me get Brother Elijah. Let me get Brother Elijah up here on Zoom. Brother Elijah, what's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, big brother Jason. Hey, big brother. I'm not gonna take too much time, but I need to preface the conversation because this is an excellent broadcast. You know, the last part when you was playing of what was going on with our brother out there in Mississippi, the only thing that came to my mind is the late great Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad's speech, "The Goddamn White Man." All right. I always say this to you about you, Professor Black Truth, and Tariq, that February 10th, 2001, we didn't lose Black empowerment, but we damn sure lost Black power. All right. Y'all set a new wave of Black empowerment for all of us, all right? Because without y'all, we would have been so lost. We would have been screwed. After that man's passing, I literally saw it. We would have been screwed. So hands down, thank God for all of you brothers, man. All right, be one to that. This devil woman right here, you said it right. This is the first point. That her being with a Black cop, you know,
it wasn't black. No. He was a Boston police officer.
Oh, okay. Now I'm trying to figure this out. How the hell she got off? But there you go again. You say he wasn't black. Oh, so she took out one of her own.
Which you're allowed to do.
Wow.
In a system of white supremacy, you're allowed to do that. I mean, the police don't matter. That's something that's just an excuse they throw out for us.
Right.
It's all about police when we show up. But
Right.
these folks don't give a damn about no police. January 6th taught you that. We knew that well before then, but folks were kind of hard-headed. They bought into the propaganda. All that mess they talk about, that's only for you. These folks don't give a damn about no police.
Mhm.
They don't give a damn about any police. None.
Wow. Well, I really don't know what to say to that. You know, hey, this is devil. What did Dr. Khalid say? Satan, we're in the days of Satan will cast out Satan. How should his kingdom stand? Like Dr. Khalid would say. So that's I'm done with that point. But the second one with the illegal migrants and everything like that, you know, we gotta be very not talking about you. I'm talking about like in general for people. Donald Trump can't get rid of all the migrants and America let in millions of them, and also
but they don't have to, brother, because you got millions of illegals, yeah, but you only have thousands of employers who are paying them. That's
Right.
the draw. That's always been the draw. The coyotes from Mexico are working with the white men up here to supply them with labor the same way that they work with folk up here to supply them with drugs. So you don't have to get millions of illegals. That's never been necessary. All you got to do is go get the thousands of white men who are employing them. That's all you would have to do. But you would have to actually do that. And that's not going to occur because that would require mass incarceration. So if you're going to send out the shock troops in mass, and they're sending out hundreds and thousands of police officers from ICE and whatever, if you're going to send out these folk in mass, they want it to be clear that white people are not in danger.
Mm-hmm.
That if we ever mobilize the government, we are not going to mobilize the government with guns and stuff against white people. January 6th, they didn't mobilize the government in force against white people then.
Right. I do have a question though, because this did pop up in my mind when you're talking about labor and illegals. Did America ever need them in the first place? I say that to say this. You have all these prisons. You're in Louisiana, one of the most popular prisons in the country, and they're very known for slave labor is Angola. All they had to do was use the prisoners, or they don't have enough prisoners to do that cheap labor. Am I right or wrong?
Well, I mean, you really only have about 1 million or so people who are actually involved in the justice system, the incarceration system to begin with.
Right.
So that's not the real reason. The point is not illegals are helping the economy. What they're bringing over here is people to become a part of it.
Okay.
That's the whole point. So they give them bank accounts and everything else. So this is why we call them the buffer classes. Their job is to get in the way of us and to prevent economic justice for us specifically. But the goal is to bring them over here. So they're going to tell you that, oh, we need these folk for an expanding economy. Yeah, but you're bringing them over here is what's expanding it. So
right,
without if they were not here, things would simply contract to where they're supposed to be. The reason that you have an overinflated housing market with crazy prices is because of all the illegals you got over here.
Right, of course.
So if you remove 10 million people, can you all think about this? Anybody who lives in California, think about what Interstate 10, Interstate 110, 105, what would those look like if you got rid of 5 million people? Damn! New York City. What would the LBJ, the FDR, what would Hudson Parkway, what would those look like if you got rid of 5 million people? If you got rid of 2 million people,
right.
1 million, what would traffic look like in New York and New Jersey if you simply removed 1 million or 2 million people? What would it look like in Florida? What would it look like in Texas if you removed 1 or 2 million people? what would the traffic look like? You'd be like, I'll be damned, this is nice.
Of
You'd
course.
have all these big roadways. There'd be a hell of a lot less people. It would look like Los Angeles road freeways did back in the 1960s. Los Angeles freeways back in the 1960s looked like Shreveport, Louisiana today.
Yes.
Y'all would be loving it. And it's not because it couldn't be afforded. No, it's because those people will get thrown into the mix and you give them money, and next thing you know, they're spending. It's like we always said, they're going to have to spend on white interest. So they're going to the casinos, they're going to the gas stations, they're going to the grocery stores, they're going to the movie theaters when they can get out. So yeah, all of a sudden you're churning, you're integrating them into the economy too for that purpose. That's the purpose, to keep feeding the beast so that you have this ever growing mass of capitalism to draw off of. They don't give a damn where the bodies come from so long as the bodies get there. And they don't give a damn what damage they cause to the folk at the bottom, because remember, as I taught you, capitalism requires the poor just as much as it requires the rich.
Of course.
So these guys are making trouble for the folk at the bottom, but the folk at the top, like Governor Pritzker in Illinois, he makes money directly off the illegals. If Donald Trump really had a problem with Governor Pritzker, he would be going after Hyatt hotels.
Of course.
He could have Governor Pritzker in handcuffs tomorrow morning. He could have a RICO charge against Hyatt hotels tomorrow morning. Governor Pritzker is obviously fearless of that occurring. Clearly, he is completely unafraid that that will ever occur.
Right.
Now, if you and I know this about Hyatt, the FBI and the Justice Department damn sure know it. So
Yes,
why
sir.
aren't they doing nothing? Oh, because they're too busy going after Young Thug and whoever else they can do right there. So that's what their real focus is. Brother, do
Right.
you realize what a shockwave that would send across the country if you did that? You wouldn't even have to go after Marriott and Hilton. If you went after Governor Pritzker and Hyatt, and that's one of the smaller chains actually, if you went after them, that would send a message to every damn body. The jig is up.
Right.
They stop the bull crap tomorrow morning. The jig is up. Next thing you know, all your illegals will be crossing the border going back to Mexico because they're like, yeah, bro, we don't give a damn how many hotels we got. I'm not going to prison for you. So is that dollar I'm trying to get, yeah, it ain't worth that. So get it how you live, go back home or whatever. And that's it. And they would you would see a flood of them leaving because they can't get paid anymore. And in America, you will run out of money very, very quickly. In their cases, they would run out within a week. After that, their only option is to leave.
Big brother, I do have a question. I want to build on this real fast before I go to the next point about the brother. Why are these people, and I'm not just looking at the Mexicans, you know who's also consistent with this, the Haitians. Why do these people are so fucking stupid, excuse my language, they keep being, letting themselves be used as political footballs? That's what I need to ask.
Because, first of all, they're conditioned for that for where they come from over there. They're already used for that over there.
Yes, sir.
And they were promised a great deal coming over here. They've had their heads gassed up, so they were promised a great deal coming over here. And what ends up happening is they get thrown in the blender with everybody else. They get
Yes,
thrown
sir.
in the blender with everybody else. That's what ends up happening. So,
Right.
and it's a damning commentary when you are the Prime Minister of Jamaica and you having this, that's embarrassing as hell that they're having to bring all your people back over there and you talking about how you're going to reintegrate them. That's a damn embarrassment that your place is a place that folk can run from so much that you have to talk about, oh, we'll welcome them back. Welcome them back. They were fighting to get out of here.
Jason, to add to your point, listen, I'm in New York City. I called you on a different broadcast yesterday. I told you I was in the Bronx getting my haircut. They have the whole top of the Bronx, that whole northeast section of the Bronx. That's all Jamaican alone. Then you blend it in. You got Brooklyn. Then when you go to Long Island, Queens, Long Island, half Haitian, half Jamaican. Okay, they have this whole thing on lock. So my question is, yeah, and probably what this prime minister down there was doing. Oh yeah, by the way, when I was in Jamaica, also last year, look at the conversations that was having. They want to get those nursing degrees. They don't want to be nurses in Jamaica. They want to move up here.
Well, brother, here's
like
the thing. You said they got it on lock. What do they have on lock, brother?
I don't mean it like
No,
They
brother. I mean,
have
I'm dealing with what you said there, but I'm just saying when you use that kind of phrase, I want y'all to understand something. Okay, there might be a number of them there. They got it on lock. They got what locked down exactly?
Okay, I'm sorry, excuse me, but they got that area like that. You cannot. We are so outnumbered. In the boogie down. Okay, for example, like from Gun Hill and north, and I would say really from Pelham Parkway going all the way up north to 241st Street, all the way up there alone, that is strictly Jamaican. Okay, what I mean by that,
now let's talk about what makes New York valuable.
Yes, sir.
And let's see where you find it.
Yes, sir.
How are the luxury houses kicking off in the Bronx, in the Jamaican area?
0.
Okay. Sports?
0.
Okay. Your shopping plazas with your Panera Bread and your high-end restaurants, how's that popping?
Absolutely 0.
Okay. Banking?
Like everywhere else, they don't have the high-end banks. You get Bank of America, Chase, the basics. That's it. You're not getting no Deutsche Bank, or you're not getting the no exclusive bank. Absolutely not.
So all the things that are actually the valuable real estate, what you're saying is these folks got numbers, but the things that actually make valuable real estate, they're absent.
Completely absent. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
yes, sir.
So in other words, that's just a place where they sleep at night, but other than that, they're not moving no weight.
Absolutely not. That's correct.
So when folks say, well, folks got locked down, they need to have some clarity about what exactly is locked down. Well, they locked down the place to sleep.
I apologize. I what I mean by that, maybe the physical real estate, not that real estate like how you
right. But what I'm saying is that fools people and deceives them. They think that because you have an ethnic enclave where you got other folk like you, that translates to power and influence, and it doesn't.
That's correct.
It doesn't. That doesn't actually translate to anything. You're just more workers here, sitting here and whatnot, but you're not actually empowered.
Yes, that's
correct. The issue. And they've been deceived into thinking, I mean, I noticed that about places like New York and whatnot, folks there are deceived into thinking that because you reside there, that's actually power.
Absolutely not.
And it's not power to just reside somewhere, to say I'm a resident of New York, so I reside. I'm living here. I reside here. That's not a flex, man. That's not a flex.
100%.
They've got a lot of pride. I live in New York. I'm from New York. I live in New York. And I'm looking at, okay, well, who owns the power, wealth, and influence? And you right now you have a situation where, quote unquote, the whites are the minority of the population. Well, yeah, they are, but they're the majority of the assets.
Of course. Yes, sir.
They're the majority of the assets. So with that being the case, yeah. The rest of you, all you can do is help the situation. That's all you can do.
Brother, if you I hate to say this, but I still have to ask this. If it's gotten to the point where you would hear somebody say, I'm from New York, wouldn't you technically, now where our knowledge is at today, wouldn't you say New York is synonymous with the word tether, basically?
I mean, definitely that's become the culture because that was what was engineered.
Yes, sir.
I mean, they brought over folk. They didn't just bring over everybody. They bring over, there's only certain folk. If you do come over here with that, you're going to get targeted.
Yes, sir.
So they know who they bring over here. They know who they allow. They know the background and stuff. And they know who the troublemakers are going to be.
Yes, sir.
And that's what they watch out for is, are you going to be a troublemaker? Are you going to be difficult? You know, are you going to try to upset things? If you try to organize folks, they're looking for that.
Yes, sir.
They are looking for people who are doing that, and they always have. So that's why, take it like this. For every rider, they try to make sure they got 9 coons.
Of course.
So
yes,
just in case a rider slips through or somebody lied their way to get in, yeah, you might be a rider, but then we're going to flood the zone with as many coons as possible. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're going to see if we can make that pop off.
Yes, sir, because to add to your point, big brother, If you are looking for any type of black empowerment in those areas that I just named, you are absolutely mistaken. That word don't even exist. There'll be Caribbean power, but empowerment, but it damn sure won't be no damn black empowerment. That don't exist, brother.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they've been sold on the idea of individual benefits.
Right.
That's the difference. You know, we were never convinced of the idea of individual benefits, but they've been sold on this idea thing, I'll get it for me and I'll be all right.
Right.
And we've always had a group mindset of that. So the rest of these folks, you don't have to divide them. They're easily divided already. And my point is that getting a bunch of people together in the same area does not mean that they're on code.
That's correct.
That's the part where folks are confused. Just because y'all get together and kick it and smoke the weed and whatnot, that doesn't mean you're on code. Or if your code is smoking the weed, yeah, that's not a power move.
Absolutely not.
And they've been fooled and deceived into thinking that it is. And no, it's really not.
That's correct. That's correct, brother. To the last point, and then, I'm gonna land my plane. With that, with our poor brother down there in Mississippi, I wonder, is he going to be able? He should be eligible to at least file a federal lawsuit for what he's going through. Am I right or wrong?
Probably not.
Really?
Yeah, brother. Like I say, I mean, there's statute of limitations for that, so you'd have to go through the federal Supreme Court to, get them to rule that what they're doing is unconstitutional. So that would be a big, long process right there to begin with.
Oh, wow.
Now, we know what they're doing is wrong. We know what they're doing is wrong. We know what they're doing is illegal. It obviously is. This is a system of white supremacy. And I want everyone to understand that the stupid arguments that we actually have is about whether racism exists or not. And folks will acknowledge it exists, but then when you show examples and stuff, they start looking for ways to excuse it, looking for ways to cast it aside, to rationalize it away. They start looking for that, change the subject. And what I'm saying is the progress that we've made is for those of us who've been disciplined and stayed focused. The average person wants folks to stay focused. They're looking for some people out there that are very, very vocal, very active minority to stay focused so they can sit up here and bull job and play around.
Yes, sir.
And what I'm saying is this is what happens in the bull job and play around category.
Right.
This is what's happening here. We've had decades of this. Decades.
Yes, sir.
That's a deadly situation to be in. Deadly.
Big brother, there's a brother that's part of the B1 family, Dark Black. I would go down there to Mississippi a few times up until last year and do some training with the brother and everything like that. And, I drove through Mississippi back in December 2020. You hit it right on the head. There's only a few driving through that particular state. That is all woods, big brother. That is all rural. There's nothing happening over there. And then people tend to forget, you did a broadcast just, I want to say 3 going on 4 years ago about Mississippi's water crisis. And you had a racist bastard lieutenant governor. I forgot his name, Dan Patrick. Excuse me if I got his name wrong. But he told the people down there were fighting for the funding.
I'm pretty sure that's in Texas, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, but it was probably Texas. That's his name. But no, there was a water crisis out there in Jackson, Mississippi. The city of Jackson is fighting with the state to get the funding, and the lieutenant governor, when this was a broadcast he did some years ago, told the mayor, "Hey, give me my airport, and you'll get your funding for the water." You understand? People tend to forget that is cold-blooded racism down there. That's why, when I always talk about, I turned off the damn television a long time ago. I don't want to hear this stuff with the illegals. And then now you got this crap with Iran, and then they're doing this crap to us right here. Because I know at the end of the day, and I always talked about this, dumb devils will shake hands with them So with the so-called enemy, grant them funding, communities, and everything, and then still keep our asses locked up, unjustly locked up, and everything like that. So there's no need to listen to what this enemy is saying and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, in Jackson, Mississippi, since you have a black population there, yeah, the Mississippi legislature is still on their Jim Crow.
Right.
They're still on their Jim Crow. They're still targeting black people there as a group. So you're targeting your own state's capital. Well, hell yeah. If you are there, they're like, to hell with the state capital.
Yes,
That's
sir.
exactly what they're on. They're like, to hell with the state capital. So everything's about targeting us across the board. And we can't say that lightly. We can't say it under our breath. We can't say it softly. You got to say it full-chested, that's exactly where we are.
Yes, sir.
Because this idea about who going to be the pro-black folk, everybody should be. Mississippi,
Yes, sir.
as I'm showing you the evidence tonight, Mississippi should be the most pro-black state in America. Look at how you're being targeted based on your race. You don't have any white people that you can give this story about. There's no equivalent among white folk there. Okay, you're being targeted. That alone should have everybody on code en masse.
Yes, sir.
That alone should have that. Alone. All I can think, though, is that Deion Sanders came down there.
Exactly.
And found out what the hell it is.
Yes. Yeah, the bull, like you always told us, they be bull jiving down there. This is, again, and I'm gonna close out with this one. This is why we thank God, because you made a good statement to the last caller. You have people there and they're not doing a damn thing. You are hundreds of miles away and you got to stop what you're doing to go over there and speak up about the matter. You got to go all the way up to my home state of New York and deal with that Robert Brooks situation. Okay, like you are literally walking in the spirit of the late great Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, because like I said, we have no advocates, and that's why when I hear no good bastards like the barristers of the world who will call your program with their anti-FBA hatred and everything like that, it's a bug in my ass like I can't explain and everything like that. Because like Professor Black Truth always taught us, if you don't protect and defend your advocates, you'll be a people without advocates. And with that, big brother, I'm going to land B1.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I don't get contacted by your attorneys, folk. I mean, I mentioned these cases and whatnot. I haven't had any of their attorneys contact me. I haven't had these attorneys don't call me, man. Whoever these folk are doing these cases, they don't call me in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Them folk ain't called us. They're not calling in the troops. They think they're going to make it on their own. They think they're going to pull it by themselves. Oh, well, I wish you luck. And I'd just like to make an observation. By the way, they don't call us. They don't talk to us. They don't see what we got going on. They don't link up with us. They don't do any of that. Carmelo Anthony had a crowdfunding. We talked about it here. Next thing you know, the number spiked again. That's kind of the game that these people play. They want us to just spontaneously get behind these things so that they can get the benefits of it without having to acknowledge anything. And I'm just like, okay, I just wanted y'all to let me know. But by the way, yeah, they don't call us. They don't call us. They don't talk to us. They ain't doing none of that. They're not doing any of that. Who the hell are they talking to and linking up with? Not us. Not us. And Rolling the Bowling Ball will not be there. And even if you got him, you got the weakest nigga in the room. Okay. So I just wanted to give you all a reminder that, by the way, these folks are out there. Their people are out there. Somebody in your damn family and somebody in your damn circle knows us. Somebody in your family and somebody in your circles know us. And they're not talking to us either. So I just couldn't help but notice your people ain't reaching out to us. Now, how the hell is it we out here and none of your folk done said anything? Okay, we see what you're playing. Folks, I mean, yes, I brought up the stories tonight, but it's like, well, Jason, you brought that up, but then it seems like you're pulling back some. Okay, remember what I told you? Oh, I meant that. I'm not going to stomp for people harder than they're stomping for themselves. This idea that we're persona non grata, that's a game I'm not going to play. Had the Alabama uprising, got in touch with them folk. Next thing you know, they don't want to talk no more. I'm like, okay, this is what happens all the time. So a lot of folks will be in trouble, but then they come back, and they ain't really in that much trouble, though. We show up, and all of a sudden, they ain't that much trouble. Before then, they were screaming for help. We show up, and all of a sudden, the real deal shows up. Now, we ain't that much. It ain't that bad. Ooh, y'all doing too much. So there's a reason why I move the way I move. There's a reason why I do it the way I do it. I do it that way for a reason. I'm not going to get played about nothing, so I will acknowledge what's happening over there, but I'm not going to get played about it. Not going to get played about it. Let me go ahead and speak about this here briefly. Some of the ADHD children here tonight, one of the things is that we stay focused. Staying focused means we stay on topic. If I didn't mention Trump and Iran, what are you doing coming into my space talking about Trump and Iran? If that concerns you, CNN got a YouTube page, a whole bunch of other folk out there, ABC, everybody else, Fox News, everybody got a YouTube page. They got a YouTube channel. If that concerns you, get over there. But Jason, but nothing, nigga.
And deal with it, nigga.
I meant what the hell I said. The issue is reparations. I'm not taking my eye off the damn ball. Trump is causing havoc. That's exactly what the hell we voted for. The issue is reparations. I ain't taking my eye off the ball. Don't tell me I said this during the pandemic. Some niggas thought I was playing. I ain't playing. I said, damn a pandemic. Cough, cough. Hand me my cough drops. Hand me my blanket and cut my damn check. But Jason, there's war in Ukraine. I don't give a damn what they doing in Ukraine. Cut my check. But Jason, the Russians, I said cut the check. But Jason, the Iranians, nigga, I said cut the check. But Jason, World War III, they're going to drop the bombs. Ooh, you better hurry up and cut the check. Oh, man, if it's going to be the end of the world, you better hurry up and cut the check. As a matter of fact, you better direct deposit it. Nigga, I'm not joking. Yo ADHD ass want to bring it up. I'm not bringing it up because I'm showing you just how serious I am about disregarding every damn thing else. You're the ones that anything show up, you like a damn dog. You go chasing all bad. Ooh, it's bright and shiny. I don't give a damn what them folks doing. I'm letting them know. It's not because I don't see what you're doing, but I'm not going to take my eye off the ball. We are not going to change the subject. The subject is on white supremacy and the need to cut the damn check. Some of the folks who go doom scrolling, you flipping through channels and you say, ooh, yeah, Jason talking about what I want to talk about? No, nigga, I'm not talking about what you want to talk about. No, I'm not. I meant what I said. Oh, Jason, what about Iran? Cut the check. They might be going to war. Cut the check. Jason, the bomb's dropping. Okay, hurry up and cut the check for the bombs blow up. Cut the check. That's the agenda. That's the only issue. I'm not discussing anything else. Cut the check. I'm banging on the beast and banging on white supremacy. Cut the check. I'm not going to get distracted by any of these overseas adventures. Cut the damn check. Little ADHD niggas. What about Iran? I ran, you ran. Get your ass out of here. Them folks, that's what happens when you are focused. People cannot get you distracted. Then they come sit down at the table and negotiate with me. Nigga, you can't stall me on nothing. I'm not talking about anything else you're doing. There is only one subject of discussion, just one. And once we get that sorted out, then we can handle everything else. But I don't give a damn. Nothing. Nothing is on the table except the agenda. That's all. Nothing is on the table except that. And do not think that you are going to create a crisis or concoct a crisis. You're going to concoct some overseas action, call it a crisis, and say, we need to stop talking about what y'all are talking about because there's bigger things going on. Ain't nothing bigger than restorative justice. Nothing. So the short bus kids fresh out of tripping their way out the special ed short little yellow building, the little temporary buildings. Jason, can you talk about right there? Why don't you go talk about it? I'm not talking about anything other than the issue we got. And I'm not going to talk about any of their policy unless we talk about the damn issue. And I will not be distracted. Yes, I know exactly what they're doing. And if the subject comes up, yeah, cut the check. Damn, you niggas is serious. Why don't you care folks is dying? We've been dying over here the whole damn time. I'm concerned about that which I have direct control over. We've been dying over here the whole damn time. I'm concerned about that. The short bus children get interested in something to move on to something else 5 seconds later. Yeah, the ADHD kids who can't focus, I ain't with them. Yeah, I meant what the hell I said. Don't tell me about a pandemic. Don't tell me about a war. Don't tell me about a military action. I don't have any. I'm not here to discuss that with you. I'm here to discuss our agenda. But Jason, they could drop the bombs. You know what? If we're not going to get what we need, everybody going to take a haircut. This idea that everybody gonna eat well and live high off the hog and we gonna be sitting over here catching hell and doing without, so everybody else gonna be okay, but we gonna be stuck on the side suffering? No, if we cannot all be equally comfortable, then damn it, we can all be equally uncomfortable.
And deal with it, nigga.
If you are not going to see to providing the proper justice and restoration to us, and we going to be suffering, then damn it, everybody else can suffer too. If we can't all be equally well, then we can all be equally unwell. But Jason, they might drop the bombs in World War III. Well, then, if you are that unjust and that reckless, then the cosmos is probably better off without you to begin with. Well, you're sitting there too, Jason. Well, everybody got to go. But if the world's going to end, I'm not going to sit here and be concerned about injustice. I'm not going to look here to defend injustice. If the world going to end, damn it, I'm going out stomping for justice. I didn't help you at any time to change the subject. So you know what? I hope you folks build a good bomb shelter over there. You might end up needing it, but the subject is not going to change. The subject won't change. Maybe you have this fantasy that you'll be practicing white supremacy in some Mad Max post-apocalyptic nightmare. Okay, that's not going to go as easily as you tell yourself it will, but you know what? Go for it. But if you think that you're going to say, oh, hell, you know what? We got bigger issues than black empowerment. The hell we do. The hell we do. That's the issue. That's the only issue. Everything else is off the table, no matter what the consequences might be. You don't want to play chicken with me. You don't want to get in your car and I'm in mine and you think you're going to hit me head on and we're going to play chicken. You don't want to play that game with me. It's empowerment or nothing. That's all it's going to be. And if you think you're going to stand in the way, and you're going to get us to back down from it, and you're going to, every time we look up, you bastards are sitting up here trying to change the subject and talk about something else. I told you all that back in 2020. I said, y'all do understand that this is going to be an ongoing pattern, right? Not just adopted by the government, by empty-headed lunks online. You do understand this is going to be the pattern, right? Every time we talk about us, they're always going to tell you that there's a different issue, that there's something else we need to be doing. That's what they're going to say. There's something else we need to be doing. Every time you turn around, oh, look, there's an election. Oh, look, there's a pandemic. Oh, look at the Asians. Look at LGBT, illegal aliens. Oh, look at Ukraine. Oh, back to illegal aliens again. If you let them, every time they show up, they're always going to tell you that there's a bigger issue to see about. They're always going to do that. All the time. They're never going to come up to us and say, okay, we are voluntarily tabling the black issue so that we can hunker down and deal on this. They're always going to tell you that there's something bigger, something different, something more pressing. Oh, there's a new emergency. There's always something that they're going to, no matter how minor, they're going to claim that's an emergency. And y'all need to stop talking about what you're talking about so we can focus on the real issues. The real issue is what the hell we talking about. And whatever else you want to discuss, yeah, we're not interested in how that turns out. Don't look for our support. Don't look for our help. We're totally unconcerned. We show up, that ain't even happening. That doesn't even exist. Back to what we talking about. That's how you let people know how seriously you take your issue. When they tell you, by the way, you know it could be the end of the world, and you say, I give not a damn. Back to the issue we were talking about. But the end of the world, well, then you better hurry up. You better hurry up and handle what I told you to handle so that after that, we can discuss that end of the world thing. We're not going to talk about anything, including the end of the world, until you cut that check. Now, after you cut that check, then we can discuss the end of the world. But let me be clear. The only person holding us up from discussing handling the end of the world is you. Damn. See, if you weren't sitting here arguing with me about that, why don't you go ahead and cut that check and then we can take care of this end of the world thing. If you hurry up and do that, you do what I need to have done and then we can go ahead and focus on what you're talking about. Right now, the person stalling us is you. Why haven't you just handed over what you owe? And then it means that much to you. Okay, if you think that depriving us means that much to you, well then, damn it, it's going to be a heavy penalty to pay. It's going to be a heavy penalty to pay because we're not going to back down. So yeah, end of the world. Well, you wasting time holding off on our check. You need to go ahead and cut that if you really care about that end of the world thing and really care about getting me involved. Yeah, you got to do that. You got to do that. Now, people take you more seriously when they try to take you off subject, and that's how you respond. They're like, I'll be damned, these folks are dead ass. They're not saying this because they don't understand. They're saying this precisely because they do understand. Damn. Yeah, it's just that rough. It sure is. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to a nice program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, my man Larry's Anything Goes LLC, Yami Yabin Israel, Timothy Blewett, James, and everybody else here who's contributed to a nice program. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every holiday weekend, some days in between. By the way, I didn't discuss June. One more thing. You know what? Let me hold off on that. Tomorrow I might discuss Juneteenth. Yet another distraction, but tomorrow I might go ahead and discuss Juneteenth. We're going to see about that. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning into tonight's program live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.